For the video watchers, we have a new Vince McMahon render that we have to put onto that intro. Welcome, folks. We're in the weeds. It's Friday. It's June the 16th. I'm at Joel Pearl. And look who's back. Welcome back, Jeremy Lambert. It's good to see you. How you doing, buddy?
Hi. I'm as well as I can be, Joel Pearl. I'm happy to be back. Very happy to be back and talking wrestling and doing this show. Not to really see you or anything, but to talk to the in the weeds universe, right? Very happy about that. So it's nice. It's nice to be here, and I've said it on other platforms. I'll say it again, but I appreciate everybody that's reached out over the last week and a half now. It was last Tuesday. A week and a half now. I appreciate everybody that's reached out and said kind things and sent condolences and everything. It's been tough, but we got to move on as best we can and try to get some sense of some normalcy to everything. So I'm here to talk about wrestling and stuff that hasn't happened yet, but we're going to pretend like it has happened and we know all about it.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do a lot of pretending today. I'm sorry, but I think there's plenty of meat on the bones. It's good to see you, chat. While you're here, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead, leave a thumbs up here on this video, and if you haven't yet, subscribe to us here at Fightful Overbooked. Hit that bell, get your notifications every time we go online or drop a video. You should know about it. So why not hit that right now? Get into it. And if you want to support us financially, go ahead, drop us a super chat. Any amount, get your question or statement read on the air, as we do, because we are self-funded, as I used to say, self-sufficient and self-funded. So that is us. There is, like we said, lots to talk about. We are going to talk about the CM Punk ESPN interview that has not dropped yet, but we probably will talk about some of the notes that have come out through Fightful Select and some of the conversations, for a lack of a better term, that have come from that. There's some news that came this morning. WWE Payback is coming. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes, and also at 10:15. So if you're watching us live in about 10 minutes, Iridian Fierro is going to be joining us, and she is one of the new co-hosts on the AEW Collision post show on Fightful. Jeremy and I looked at each other and we're just like, okay, Cresta did the spotlight and Ricky Chino did Coexisting After Dark. We should probably have Iridian have her say on one of Fightful properties. So what are we going to do? We said, hey, come join us in the weeds. And she's like, absolutely. So we're excited to welcome her and get a little bit about her. A quick little, hey, how are you? Tell us about yourself at 10:15 a.m. Eastern. We'll talk about Dynamite. We'll talk about Forbidden Door. We're going to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about in the chat, because this is kind of your show too. We're just here talking about the wrestling. But I mean, since we have a few minutes, WWE Payback. Oh, okay, Jeremy. Yeah,
I have a big surprise for you. This show is going to run a little bit longer today, folks. Usually we try to get out of here at 12. I saw you guys went long. Darius Carter, he was on the show. What was that, Wednesday? He was on Wednesday's show.
yes,
and yeah, that was a long and exhausting travel day on Wednesday. But I saw Darius Carter and I listened to that interview, and I know you guys went long with him. That was great, by the way. We have an article dropping at noon today from the Darius Carter interview, and then I think the cut interview is already up on Fightful Overbooked. But that was a great interview. I know you guys went long on that. We're gonna go long today because I have a special guest for you, Joel Pearl. You actually know who it is, but you do not know why he's going to be on this show. And, everybody in the chat, you don't know who it is, and you also don't know why he's going to be on this show. But stick around until 12 o'clock. Past 12 o'clock, we're going to have a special guest.
I was half expecting you to do the you don't know why he's here. You know who he is, but you don't know why he's here.
Well, that was what I was going for. I just didn't do the accent.
Or the line.
I said, you know who he is, but you don't know why he's here.
You said you don't know why he's coming. You said you don't know why he's coming.
I definitely said he's here. Run the tape back. Someone rewind this. Someone rewind this.
Pro Wrestling Podcast drops us a super chat. Thank you so much, buddy. It's good to see you. Happy belated birthday, by the way.
Yeah, happy belated birthday, man.
Everyone's birthdays are in that May-June corridor. It's kind of exciting. It's nice. And yeah, by the way, the Darius Carter interview, that I can't say enough positive things about it. I can't say enough things about Darius Carter because he not only gave us so much more time than I thought he would, but he also really went in depth with his answers and had a lot to say. So go check out that interview. Like Jeremy said, the cut version is up on Fightful Overbooked. Go ahead, share that, watch that. There's good stuff, man. I did not, when I looked at the time and I was like, we did 40 minutes with him, like it flew by. So looking forward to that. I really hope that his match with Carlito happens.
Yeah, I don't know if it will at this point. Carlito's pulling out of some indie dates. He's still advertised for AEW tomorrow night. So
yeah,
I don't think he's wrestling on that show. I think it's just like a meet and greet appearance thing.
Yeah, that's what I think that's what Sean had mentioned, or at least that's what reported. It was that it was an appearance, not a wrestling match. But he's supposed to have a match. I think he said it was Darius said it was a 3-way at was it Warriors Wrestling? I think not Warriors. Yeah, Warriors Wrestling. I don't know. I don't know if that match is still going to go on as planned, but he certainly had plenty of expectations. He wants to pin Carlito. He wants to beat Carlito, and now he might have to set up that match in WWE when he gets there. It might just be the play.
I hope he gets to WWE. Listen to that interview. I mean, I know of Darius Carter. I've seen his work and everything. Super charismatic, like super really just really knows how to sell himself, really commanding presence and everything too. It's a guy that I'm rooting for. So good, best of luck to Darius Carter with he should like he talked about the NWA on the show and how I love these like this open challenge thing feels like kind of just inauthentic. Like, dude, I looked at this because when I was writing this article, Tyrus is apparently doing this open challenge. He's held this title since November. He's only made 4 successful title defenses. He's only defended the title 4 times since November, and he's allegedly doing open challenges. What? Huh? That doesn't make any sense.
He's too busy getting ready for the Crockett Cup, which he also did not win. So that's as much NWA time as I want to spend on this, unless we're talking about Carter beating Tyrus's ass for
so that's where I was going. Is like they could do worse things, and they're doing worse things than putting the title on Darius Carter. So they should do that. They should get on that.
Guy in the chat saying that he's on the Roman Reigns level.
Well, I mean, Roman's got it figured out. Roman's at least like making a bunch of money. And stuff.
I thought you were going to say in shape. I'm sorry, we don't fat shame here. I mean, listen, there people come in all shapes and sizes, but like, if you're going to be a bigger dude in wrestling, at least make sure you can go. That's all I can say. Like, at least make sure your gas tank
at least make sure you ain't gassing out walking to the ring. What are we doing here?
Anyway, Cody Wills in the super chat saying, "Glad to see you back, Jeremy. See you at Payback at PGH. That is what is that? Oh my God, isn't it Pittsburgh? But it's PPG Paints Arena. That's the name of the arena. So yeah, let's get on that for a real quick second. Saturday, September 2nd. Labor Day weekend just became more laborious for us in wrestling media, as we expect All Out to happen the day after, I guess, on Sunday, the 3rd of September. And then All In is the weekend before that. So, Jeremy, how do you feel about WWE Payback? How do you feel about Nick Khan going forward with his mandate that if there's a Memorial Day weekend or a Labor Day weekend or a long weekend, we are going to run it? How do you feel about
this? This happened last year, didn't they? They did Clash at the Castle the day before.
Was it the same
All
weekend?
Out? Yeah, because Tony was mad about that after Punk did his tirade, and he's like, "I'm not gonna take this shit anymore." Remember that line? That ruled.
I don't need to take this shit anymore.
Yeah, that ruled. Yeah, the audio mess up was so good.
Remember,
I'm not gonna fucking sit back and take it, is what I think he said.
So I think the reason why I don't think about it is because Clash of the Castle was an afternoon show, so we were just like, oh, Saturday afternoon wrestling, this is fantastic. And now we're going back to, we're stateside, it's on the East Coast, so it's going to be a regular Saturday night show.
But they did NXT, I swear, that Saturday night too.
No, they did Saturday afternoon for NXT that
No, Sunday afternoon.
Sunday afternoon. Yeah, they did Saturday. So yeah, and then they were stateside as well, NXT.
Yeah.
So NXT was on the Sunday afternoon, but people were like, at that point it was choose your own adventure. Right. Some people were covering it, some people were watching it, but for the most part, it was just kind of there, and that's all that mattered. It ended up being a pretty a pretty busy weekend, and we're about to get into it once again because Payback is going to be on Saturday the 2nd, and then All Out is going to run on the 3rd. And who knows if NXT will run another show? I mean, that'll be fun if they do, right? If we get NXT back on, if we get NXT running and all 3 shows run on Labor Day weekend, yes, I'm vamping, then I think it'll be a very busy weekend, but a very fun one.
It'll definitely be a busy weekend. I'm actually gonna go to as far as I know, like it's in Pittsburgh. It's not too far of a drive for me. When Cody mentioned like I'll see you there. I plan on being there. I've already messaged Sean. I was like, look, if WWE's doing media stuff, let me know. I'll happily cover that stuff as well because that's fun. Joel, you did that. You did a great job at Elimination Chamber. So I look forward to potentially doing that if they're doing that for Payback. If not, I will be there just as a fan. I'll enjoy it as a fan. Get the wife to go as well. I assume she can go. I'll bring her as my +1 in media. Is that allowed?
So I'll elaborate. By the way, I'm going to be doing Forbidden Door media and Collision as well next week, and Kate's going to be with me. So she's coming in for this, and so we're going to tag team a bunch of the media stuff on the Fightful side. When it comes to WWE, I will say this immediately: WWE is a lot more chill about how many people you're bringing, or at least like what your setup is, because when we did the Eliminations Chamber stuff, you fill out the Google Doc for media accreditation and they ask you like, is there anything else? And I had to reply like, yes, my producer / cameraman Tim will be with me. And they were like, cool, no problem. Like they emailed me the acceptance and they're like, how many tickets do you need? And I was like, I need 2. And they're like, no problem, everything's cool, go ahead. AEW, they were like, however many people you have to fill out a separate form, and everything else is like automated. Like, and this isn't a knock on AEW. It's just they operate differently, and they're still also trying to figure out, who's doing what backstage, because like Aubrey Edwards said this past week on Unrestricted, they're a very lean company and people wear many hats. So I think that they're still kind of trying to figure out who's handling maybe some of the more front facing media conversations. And so as a result, I was like, I don't know if I can bring Tim without having Tim fill in another form. So we'll see how that goes. I'm looking forward to it regardless. And I know you're looking forward to Payback. We'll continue the conversation in a minute, because I just looked at the time and I just looked at who popped in, and I did promise 10:15, and I did promise promptness, I guess is the word I'm looking for. But let's get right into it. Folks, she is one of the Rest Friends. She is also going to be part of the new AEW Collision post show here on Fightful.com every Saturday night. It'll be herself. We're going to introduce her in a second. Cresta Star and Rick Ucchino. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Iridian Fierro. How you doing, Iridian?
Hey, I'm doing so well. How are you guys?
Doing great. It's good to see you.
Doing well. Good to chat with you, Iridian.
I am so excited to talk to you guys. You can even before I got on, I was like, oh my God, I'm getting a little nervous. I don't know why.
Don't be nervous. This show is the dumbest show we do on any of these channels. So you'll be fine. There's nothing to be nervous about for this.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you've already got the room set up that like beats everyone else's, so you don't have to worry about anyone's stuff.
And giving you guys your props, like you guys are amazing. So thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Stop it. Flattery will get you everywhere. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this post show. It's going to be a 3-person post show. I know Sean's going to show up once in a while and give his takes. When I'm sure he'll show up on Saturday this week to talk about literally everything. But talk to me about how you got here. We're excited. It's going to be that 3-person booth, and you're going to be a part of it. So how did you get to this point?
Yeah, you know what? It's a little bit crazy because it was like about, I think Sean tweeted that he was looking for people to kind of be hosts of the post show. And I'm like, you know what? Let me throw my name in there, So I, liked the tweet, and I added a little comment. I said something like, hey, I'm interested. And I had been on the Day After Dynamite show with Will Washington. And I think the show went pretty well. Will was pretty cool. And he also thought that I did really well. So weeks passed. I had no idea that I was even in the running or being considered to be part of the show. So I was in the process of finishing up my second year of my master's program. And I'm like, oh my God, I have finals. And I suddenly get this message from Will. And he's like, hey, just FYI, I threw your name in there with Sean for the post show. And I'm like, oh, okay. Thank you so much. Like, yeah, let me send Sean a DM because I was interested really quick. And Sean was like, hey, so funny story. You were actually on the short list for a couple of people that I had in mind. And I'm like, oh, okay, wonderful. And the day before my last class, Sean was like, hey, double check in. Are you still interested? Like, do you want to, host? And I'm like, absolutely. Yes, of course. I love AEW. So I think I could talk enough about wrestling, that I that I can go on the show and be a host afterwards. And the next morning, I started receiving DMs of congratulations. I had no idea why. I didn't know what was happening. I'm like, congratulations for what? What did you guys like? I guess graduation, right? Like I figured, like, sure, why not? And it's actually Robert DeFelice, who's also on Fightful. He's like, yeah, Sean tweeted it. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Sean tweeted it. Sean tweeted what? I had no idea. I was still in the weeds. I had no idea what was happening. And I go on Twitter, and sure enough, Sean had announced it. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't get the notification because I had my Twitter notifications off. Sometimes Twitter gets a little crazy. So I'm like, I need a pause from this. And that made me miss the notification. So I was like really shook. I had no idea what was happening. And it was just crazy, but I'm very, very excited. I spoke to Will afterwards, and I'm like, hey, thanks so much for even mentioning me. You didn't have to do that. You didn't, he didn't have to go out of his way to say anything like that or any of that sort. So I am really excited now to be able to be a part of this post show. And I actually chatted with Krista and Rick last week, and we had a great time. So I can only imagine what the show is going to be like.
Knowing the three of you, it's going to be very fun, and it's going to be very I mean this in the best way, very weird, because the three of you approach wrestling very differently. I do the Impact post show with Cresta, and we take nothing seriously, but we also speak about the show seriously. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how the three of you mesh and interact and get through this collision show.
It's definitely going to be interesting because I could tell as soon as I joined the chat that we were all so very different, but we loved wrestling just the same. So I knew that I'm like, we're going to be fine. It's going to be okay.
I was going to ask if you did, have a chance to chat with Cresta and Rick and kind of like game plan of, I assume Rick might be like leading the recap portion of things, and then he throws it to you guys for color commentary. I'll say, so did you kind of come up with a little kind of base game plan for the first episode? And then as everything is in wrestling, it changes, you adapt, you figure out what kind of works, and you go from there.
Yeah, we did, and Rick said exactly that. He's like, yeah, I'll kind of set you guys up and then you guys will take over. And I'm like, but you're also a huge part of the show. We're all 1/3 here. So the fact that he said that he's going to constantly put me and Cresta over. So that's kind of, I guess, what the show will be. But I think the energy that we all have is literally insane because, Cresta, she brought out her little mustache, put it on, and I was like, we're here. We are here, and we're going to talk about wrestling.
She does that almost every week. Last night she busted out the no, I don't want to say normal Cresta, but like the everyday Cresta, and like everyone was like, "Oh my God, you're so beautiful!" And like she was all done up. She's like, "Yeah, I'm going to see my mom after the show."
I was watching last night, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is a new look. I hadn't seen this yet." So I don't know. I might have to bring out a few looks too. Who knows?
That's what wrestling is, though. Like that's where we're at. Speaking of it, like, how did you get into wrestling? Like, what was your path? Like, what brought you in?
Oh my God. I have loved wrestling since I was a little kid. I think I was like about 7 or 8 years old, probably. And I don't remember the specific match that I was watching, but there was chairs involved and it was WWE. And I'm like, oh my God, people are fighting and there's weapons. This is literally insane, but I couldn't stop watching it. And I'm like, okay, I figured out that this was like weekly programming, really cool. So from then on, I was really obsessed with it. I don't know what it was, but I would watch with my dad. My dad's also a huge wrestling fan, so it's something that we got to bond over together. And I tried to stop watching wrestling when I got to college because I'm like, all right, this is enough. This has been plenty years. This is not cool anymore. People who watches wrestling anymore, and I couldn't get away from it. WWE was having a house show in like a gym in Indiana, and I'm from Chicago, so I was like, Indiana's not that far. Like, let's go see. I had never been to a wrestling show before, and I think like Seth Rollins was on the card, and they had so many great people, and I'm like, I don't believe why I stopped watching this, so I have to continue to start watching. And I think one of the first WrestleManias that I saw coming back was when Seth actually cashed in, and that was insane. I'm like, there is so much love that I have for wrestling that I was just so excited. And yeah, I've been watching for plus 10 years, 12 years, 20 years probably. I'm 27 now. So if I was 7 when I started, 20 years definitely. But I absolutely love wrestling, and I think the obsession continues to grow every year. I can't help it. I just purchased my first AEW action figure, which I didn't know I was going to start owning action figures, but I guess this is me now.
Okay, what figure did you get?
I got the Yuta. I had to pre-order him, and he's like all bloody, which I was not a fan of blood. Still am a little wary when it happens, but I'm like, oh my God, it's just so cool. I have to get it.
You mentioned you're an AEW fan. What is it that you like about AEW? And kind of to piggyback in two-part off of this, what are you expecting from Collision? Because it is a pretty big dynamic shift in AEW, adding this second show and the reasons they're adding this second show.
I think AEW as a company has really made me a bigger wrestling fan. Like I said before, all my wrestling knowledge was pretty much WWE. So when AEW came along, that's when I started, looking at the indies, looking at New Japan, looking at Impact, because I'm like, oh, wow, these wrestlers have been in so many other places. And when AEW came along, I was just obsessed. I'm like, oh my God, the Young Bucks. I remember the first time I saw the Young Bucks, I'm like, how crazy would it be if they went against the Hardys, not knowing this complete history that, they've had in the past. And I have just been so captivated by what they've been doing in AEW. It's introduced me to so many new talents. One of my favorite wrestlers of all time now, Britt Baker. I think she is phenomenal, fantastic. And I am just super excited because now Collision, I can't get enough of Dynamite, can't get enough of Rampage. Every pay-per-view that they have, I'm watching it. So Collision is just crazy. CM Punk's returning, and that is the talk of the town. I'll tell you, Chicago, I can feel it when I'm walking down the street. People are super excited about CM Punk. So I can only imagine what that's going to look like. But I'm very excited for different talent to show up. Thunder Rosa is going to be back. We're going to see Samoa Joe performing more. So I think all of these talents that we've really been missing on TV, this is their time to shine. And we're going to get 2 hours of it every single week.
Okay, now, this is the most important question. Debut episode of Collision is coming up. You cannot say CM Punk. What are you most looking forward to?
Oh man, probably it's going to be the first match. And I don't know what it's going to be, but that match is going to set the tone. And we're really going to see what happens out of the gate from that. I'm really hoping Tony comes out because Tony's been last time for a couple shows he has not come out, and I'm like, come on Tony, Chicago loves you, come out, and we're gonna have a great time, we're gonna cheer, well I'm gonna cheer. And yeah, I think Tony coming out really setting the mood, and then the first match, and we'll be ready to go. I'm excited.
All right, I've got one last question for you. You have done some work and had some conversations with our friends over at Wrestling Wind Down.
Yeah.
Put them over, because I know you were in Vegas for Double or Nothing, and you did a quick little stint with that. You did a quick little conversation there. Talk to us about Wrestling Wind Down. Talk about them, because I think they're a slept on podcast personally.
Yeah, so Lo is my best friend. I absolutely love her, and we met through her wrestling podcast, Wrestling Wind Down. This was about probably 2-3 years ago, and she had me on, and I'm like, oh my God, a woman who's talking about wrestling and wine. Who doesn't love wine, right? We all have a little alcohol mix every now and then. So we just vibed really, really well, and we are now best friends. We've been talking every single day since. She's come and stayed at my house for pay-per-views. I've gone to her house recently, and for Double or Nothing, it was amazing. I think she does really, really great work. I absolutely love her. And yeah, Wrestling Wind Down is doing some really, really great stuff. And you do have to definitely check her out. You know, we have Chardonnay and Cheesemay, which we have a little beverage and a little wrestling talk. So I think that's something that a lot of people will be interested in. Also, because you know she's a woman, and there's not a lot of women talking about wrestling. You know, we see it here once we're in the community, but really, when you look at it, it's a real male-dominated industry. So I'm like, the more women that we can get talking about wrestling and sharing their fandom, I'm here for it.
Iridian, I know we have a limited amount of time with you. So, any closing comments on the new role at Fightful, Collision, just a preview of Collision, final comments on Collision, and then, of course, let everybody know where they can find you at.
Well, I'm so excited to start this journey with Fightful. I am still in shock that I was even considered. So now, you know, to have Sean tweet out the official little poster for the show, I am really, really, really excited. And I can't say that enough. You guys are probably like, she's that excited. I don't know how many times on the show today, but I really am. I really am. And I am just really feeling blessed for the opportunity to even talk about wrestling. And I think it's just going to be a really, really great time. I'm really looking forward to Collision because I think that it's going to be something new, and we could never really get enough of wrestling, right? I feel like there can never be enough. So I am ready to start, and I'm ready for everyone on Fightful to join us on Saturday nights after AEW Collision, because I just know it's going to be chaotic. Crazy, chaotic, exciting stuff. Yeah. And thank you guys so much for having me on. I appreciate it. And you guys can always find me on Rest Friends. We have a vlog, which I run the YouTube channel. We do unboxings, I do interviews. I literally try to do it all. And also on our podcast at Rest Friends. And you can also find me, at Wrestling Wind Down. We do Chardonnay and Cheesemay. So check that out.
Iridian, thank you so much for joining us. Good luck to you and to Cresta and Rick on the post Collision show. Again, Saturdays after Collision on youtube.com/Fightful. Go check them out. Because if you don't, then what are we doing here? This is going to be a great time.
Don't be afraid to yell at people in the chat. Tomorrow, they're going to be insane. Tomorrow, don't be afraid to yell at them. I try to fight the people in the chat all the time. You just sometimes you got to.
I'm a little scared about that, you know. And Rick was like, you know what? I don't know about the chat. And I was like, if you don't know about the chat, I definitely don't know about the chat. So
one thing that I will say with Fightful is that we've done a really good job over the years of monitoring and moderating our chats. The people in these chats are almost always respectful, good folks. Sometimes dickheads get in, but like, I don't think you'll have to worry so much, but fight them when they're wrong.
Okay. And I will say, Joel and Jeremy told me I could.
And Sean will be like, that's fine.
That checks out. Yeah. That checks out. That Jeremy and Joel would say that. So yeah.
Exactly. Iridian, thank you so much for joining us. We're looking forward to
so much. I appreciate it.
We're looking forward to Saturdays with you. Take care. Enjoy it. What a good time that's going to be. I'm so excited for that post show. It's going to be better than any of the other shows we do on this channel.
Well, on the main channel. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, here.
I mean,
everything here is amazing.
Yeah, everything here is great. I was really excited when Sean made the announcement. My dog is gonna bark.
She was excited too.
Yes, she's very excited. Well, this is Cody. Cody's very excited. Cody's excited about anything. He needs his pyro when he comes into the room. I was very excited when Sean announced the lineup for a post. I was like, Rick's a good dude. He let me V-trigger him at a SmackDown event, so can never hate on Riccino. Cresta, obviously fantastic. And I didn't know Iridian that well. She mentioned the Day After Dynamite show, and I'm 99% sure I did my run-in on that show, and that's probably when I met and started connecting a little bit with Iridian. So I know she's great. It's a good lineup. I do think it's hilarious that we give WWE and AEW stuff all the time of like, oh, these wrestlers don't find out anything until they see it on social media. Are they not given a heads up? And Iridian didn't find out anything until she just got a bunch of messages on social media. Like, she just wasn't given a heads up. It's like, here's the announcement. Here's what you're doing. It's like, oh, okay, cool.
I'm telling you, man, send a carrier pigeon. People will know better that way. Not everyone's attached to their phone 24/7. I don't even know where my phone is. Oh, I think it's in my pocket for a change. That's weird.
I didn't either. Joel, first off, you did you're always fantastic, but nobody clipped that. Earlier, my mom was having pull back the curtain as we do here. My mom was having questions about stuff that's going on, and she's like, "Where's your phone?" And I'm looking around. It was just in my pocket. I'm like looking around trying to find it though. I was like, I don't know, because I needed to turn it off. But I was like, I don't know where my phone is. But yeah, it was just in my pocket. We never know where our phones are, right? It could literally be in our hands, and we're just like, I don't know where it's at. It feels like the easiest thing in the world to lose.
Smartest thing and dumbest thing I ever did was ask for a watch so that I could basically leave my phone wherever and not worry about it. If I go too far, my watch is like, hey, it's out of range. And I'm just like, it's not in my pocket. So that's just the way it goes. We are way too dependent on technology, but damn it, here we are on a streaming service talking about wrestling, which we watch on TV and stream all day long. So it is what it is. Thank you, Iridian, for joining us. Looking forward to Rick, Crusta, and Iridian on their post show every Saturday night after Collision on youtube.com/Fightful. But of course, more importantly, we're here Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 10 a.m. Eastern until noon here on youtube.com/Fightful. Overbooked, because that's where we need to be. Before we get back to what we were talking about earlier, before Iridian came around, Taylor Cannon sends a super chat saying, "Hey, Jeremy, hope you're doing well. Glad to see you back." We are happy to see Jeremy back.
Thanks, Taylor.
So
glad to be back, and thank you for the super chat. Thank you again. Thank you everybody for the support and the messages and everything.
Absolutely, it's been a lot the last week and a half. But again, I also want to thank SP3 again, because he stepped in and did a wonderful job. And it was funny because I got to we got through the first show and it went really well. And then it got better and better, because that's just how chemistry works. And SP3 and I have done stuff together before, but like never a 2-hour show like this. It ended up being really good. So thanks SP3. I'm sure we'll be seeing you again. So let's get back. We're going to talk. We're talking Payback. It'll be on Labor Day weekend, and we have a lot. We'll have a lot to cover. But what are we thinking? Because again, WWE fulfilling their mandate of doing these shows on long weekends. That this was a Nick Khan thing. He continues to do it. I don't listen. Malicious and not malicious at the same time is kind of my feeling. How do you think?
I think this is AEW's fault. People, yeah, because they consistently want to run these shows on Sundays. Move your shows to Saturdays like you were originally, and then WWE wouldn't be running events on Sundays because they love the Saturday events at this point. So I'm blaming AEW for WWE running. They might stick an NXT show on Sunday, like whatever. If they want to run NXT that weekend, let them run NXT that weekend. But they wouldn't be running head to head with AEW. I mean, maybe they would. That'd be fantastic. Honestly, I'd love it. It'd be a busy work night, but whatever. I'd live for busy work nights. But they wouldn't run a show on Saturday head to head with AEW. But AEW run their show on Sunday. It leaves Saturday open. WWE likes doing their Saturday events now, which I like. I appreciate the Saturday events. So if they're gonna leave it open, I think it's smart for WWE to come in and be like, yeah, this Saturday's free. Why wouldn't we run this show? I don't think it cuts into AEW or anything like that. As far as like a television viewership, right? I don't think it cuts into that because it's on different days. Maybe there is a little like worry about like burnout. I think that would be the only thing is like, oh, it's burnout, right? But otherwise, I don't think anybody's worried about them like, oh, this fan just watched this WWE event. Now they're just not going to watch this AEW event because it's not necessarily two different audiences all the time, but there's overlap, but there are differences in the audiences. But the biggest thing is like you're paying $5 for Peacock, whatever you're paying for Peacock. And then if you want the AEW event, you're not going to be deterred from not buying the AEW event because you just watched this WWE event. If the AEW event is strong enough, you're going to pay money and you're going to watch that event. So I don't think it really like cuts into that. Head to head, it would do a little bit more. But I mean, we saw when NXT and Double or Nothing ran, like there was no buzz about NXT, which was a really good show, but there was no buzz about NXT on that night. And it didn't seem like the Double or Nothing buys were like really that different from Revolution. And if they were different, I don't think anybody's crediting NXT for cutting into it. They're largely just discrediting AEW for the build wasn't that great. We weren't interested in the matches. It had nothing to do with like, oh, I want to watch this NXT show over this AEW show. I don't think there was that.
Broad Breaker, huge draw. takes 15% of AEW audience. No, probably not this case.
I think that the coverage is kind of could be like a sticking point, a talking point. But I think WWE running the same weekend actually helps AEW because it just gets more of people like us and people in the mainstream just like talking about wrestling for that weekend. It's like, oh, they're talking about WWE Payback. Oh, let's see what's going on. Oh, wait, now I've stumbled upon this AEW show. Like you just get people like talking, like the wrestling sites are going to cover all of the wrestling, right? Like your wrestling coverage out there. They're gonna always talk about WWE, AEW, what these companies largely go for is the non-wrestling coverage of this stuff. And I think WWE running on these weekends helps AEW because WWE is getting that non-wrestling coverage a lot. And if you're stumbling upon that on these other sites, there's a better probability that you stumble upon the AEW coverage. Because I don't think like New York Post or anything like that is like turning down, oh, wait, we have a WWE interview this week. We can't do an AEW interview. AEW is not like, no, you did an interview here. You can't do an interview with us. They're all just trying to get as much coverage as possible. And I think it's more beneficial because New York Post or whatever else is out there is like, oh, we got WWE to cover this week. Oh, we also have AEW. Like, let's expand our coverage, boost our coverage of all wrestling this week. And so it benefits AEW. So I don't mind it. It makes for long weekends. But like, this is what I do. So I don't have an issue with it.
So immediately I agree with you that this is all AEW's fault. But I do agree with you that them running Saturdays was great, and it really did help their business. And man, if they kept doing that, I think you're right. WWE may have stayed away from doing some of these shows more frequently. However, listen, we're all wrestling fans here. We're all watching what we enjoy, and honestly, like if you're paying more attention to the people covering wrestling than the wrestling shows you watch themselves, and all you're hearing is like, oh, too many wrestling shows, maybe just don't watch all the wrestling shows. Watch the ones you want, and that's what it comes down to. Because I have had a few weeks recently where like I dropped out on like the third hour of Raw, and I'm like, I'll pick this up later because like Judgment Day is going to lose, or Judgment Day is going to like basically Judgment Day is going to have a story, and that's going to be it. And that's all well and good, but it's like if it's not captivating to me live, then I'm going to drop out. Or a main event on a Dynamite. I'm not saying this week, but like in past weeks where I've been like, okay, I'm going to keep my headphones on. I'm going to listen to commentary. I'll listen to the show, and I'm going to do dishes. And then I'll come back and I'll watch the match later if something happened that looked really cool or sounded really cool. Because I am also like an oral AURAL type of a watcher listener. So like I take in where most people or a lot of people say like I don't pay attention to commentary. That's fine. I do for the most part because I enjoy the painting of the words onto the canvas type of thing. So for me, I have spent time where I'm just like, you know what? I walk away and I'm just like, I'll pick this up or I'll rewind it, whatever. And that's fine too. My point is like, if you're feeling burnt out from all of this, you can always take a step back and come back to it. Like you don't need to be on the button on your phone 100% of the time. Leave your phone in the other room and just let your watch, tell you when there's a notification. Speaking of which, my kid's daycare just sent me a notification. See, things happen all the time. It's fine. They do like photos and stuff. Okay. It's like throughout the day, they call when shit goes down. Okay. And even then it's like, he bonked his head. You have to sign something when he comes back. Like, is he bleeding? No. All right. We're fine. So they only take him home when he like runs a fever.
Oh, the wife gets those all the time from when the kids are in school of just like the updates of like, so-and-so did this today. So-and-so has this coming up and everything. It's like, you got like 20 notifications for all of this stuff. Like, is everything okay? It's like, yeah, they like literally update like every single like class that they are in. It's like, oh, okay, well, I guess like they're on top of things and whatnot. But then when you just like scroll through and like find something, it's like this was like 50 notifications ago, and where I forgot what this date was, I forgot what event they're doing here. So yeah, I get how that works. But anytime I'm like, oh, you get all these notifications, is everything okay? It's a little worrisome there when you get those notifications, even if it is just a little minor thing.
I immediately regret checking this on the air.
Oh no.
No, it's gonna break me. Worked hard on decorating the Father's Day gift for Daddy.
Oh.
Oh, it's gonna mess me up. Anyway, wow, that shouldn't hit me. That shouldn't hit me.
Oh.
He did one, so it's actually funny because they did one for Mom, but they made it like super secret. This one, they're just like, yeah, Father's Day gift.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys, appreciate it. Anyway, hey, let's move along because I think we've kind of come to the conclusion that like these weekends aren't bad. They're busy, but it ain't so bad. So just watch the shows you're gonna watch. And listen, if you didn't watch that NXT Battleground show, go back and watch pieces of it because it actually was really good.
So people are saying in the chat of like holiday weekends aren't good. People don't want to like watch wrestling on like holiday weekends and stuff, and it makes it a little bit more difficult on holiday weekends. And somebody said that Saturday is a hard market. I do think potentially for AEW, Saturday could have been a hard market because you're asking people to spend whatever $40, $50 on this pay-per-view. And so that can be a little bit more difficult on a Saturday. UFC does well, but UFC does well for like big fights and everything. Like if it's a throwaway UFC card, they do what they do. So maybe that's why AEW does like the Sunday a little bit better. And traditionally, wrestling pay-per-views were on Sundays. Like that was just always the tradition. WWE being on Saturday with the Peacock deal, I don't think they care as much because it's like we got our money and everything. And look, the viewership is good. They always tout like it did this much better than last year and everything. So clearly people are watching and everything. But when you don't have to sell a pay-per-view, when you don't have to sell $50, fans to shell out $50 for a pay-per-view, like it's a lot easier to just put that show kind of whenever you want. It's like, hey, good. If our live viewership is good, great. But we'll get replay viewership. We'll just get interest regardless. And like in the arena, it's largely going to sell, like with rare exceptions. And the biggest exception being don't run your pay-per-view in a stadium the same night as a UFC pay-per-view, like right across the street from you. Maybe don't do that. Like for the most part, fans are going to attend the live event, whether that's Saturday or Sunday or whenever. So I think Saturdays for WWE, it makes a lot of sense for them with how they are just built to with Peacock and everything. Sunday, I can see why it makes a little bit more sense for AEW because there is a little less just competition on a Sunday night, and it is a holiday weekend. But when we had Andreas on, and he was talking about like nobody wants to come to Vegas to stay that long for like just AEW. Like AEW ain't really the draw out there. It's not like a travel destination thing for them. And so maybe that is where the Sunday thing just doesn't work out for AEW. If it was a Saturday, maybe it would be a little bit more feasible for people on a holiday weekend because it's like, oh, I get in on Friday, I go to the Saturday show at AEW, then I kind of get Sunday to do whatever I want. And then same with Monday is an off day too because that's a holiday, or maybe you got to travel back on Monday if you're like traveling in because maybe you got to go back to work on Tuesday. My point is every show should be on a Saturday. Stop with this Sunday pay-per-view nonsense.
It's okay. The big conversation that weekend will be WWE Payback versus AEW Collision September 2nd.
Do you think they load up Collision for that one?
Yeah, I think they will. But it really, so it's going to depend on how SummerSlam's on a Saturday as well, isn't it?
Everything's on a Saturday for WWE at this point.
Yeah, they've committed to that. Yeah, it's AEW that does. Yeah, it's AEW that flutters between Saturday Sundays.
Yeah,
they'll do it for SummerSlam, and if they see some sort of like, I don't know how they're going to count this because I don't know how much access Tony and AEW would have to Peacock's numbers and see how much they take from you know,
They're
the
getting
SummerSlam
Mookie to hack into the system
yeah,
here to get the Peacock numbers.
on his Apple II on Twitch.
Yeah.
He's just bringing it up. It's true. I don't know like how they quantify whether or not it's like useful for them to do that. It's beneficial for them to load up their card because it would take eyes off of basically the win for them is if they see an increase in their viewership that week, they can say, hey, sure, whatever SummerSlam did, but our television rating proves and our advertising rate therefore proves that we did good. And that's all that matters in the eyes of AEW. It's not going to be so much of like it's going to be a competition conversation for a lot of fans, but like the reality is they're going to be like, we ran this show, it was very successful. Yeah, it went up against SummerSlam, but like, look, we did good. We had a, as long as they had a raise in ratings that particular week, demo and overall viewership, they'll do it again, and that will be beneficial for their own talking points, for their own network people, for anyone that they're selling to, and that would be helpful.
They just need Julia Hart on Collision, and they will easily defeat SummerSlam.
That's true. Julia Hart doing a 2-hour band live set. I don't know if she can sing, but if they're going to keep dressing her up like she's a member of Fleetwood Mac, then she's got to sing. That's just the way it goes. Kai with the super chat saying Saturday pay-per-view with a Sunday show would have been cool. I assume you're talking the AEW pay-per-view and then a Sunday WWE Peacock show. Or are we talking...
Or maybe it's a Saturday AEW pay-per-view and then a Collision show.
Yeah.
Like you move Collision to Sunday.
Yeah. Tell us which one it is, because both options I agree with. Like it's more beneficial to do just a Saturday pay-per-view. I am more willing to stay up and listen to TK BS the media on a Saturday at midnight than I am on a Sunday when it's really Monday at midnight.
Man, let me say this about our good friend of the show, Tony Khan. I missed, usually I'm up on all the interview stuff. This past week I wasn't up on it, but I saw the, our news team covers it all, does a good job with that stuff. I saw enough of the discourse online. Tony Khan did some interviews last week.
I call them more promotional conversations, but sure.
There's very few people who have listened to and transcribed Tony Khan more than I have, Joel. I don't know how many people there are who have, but like, it's getting worse. And I just don't know why he does it at this point. Because, man, like, Pollock and Thurston are the absolute best at this. And I felt bad for them. Like, it was rough.
Let me paint the picture for you. Because we talked about my kid. I was on my way to bring him to daycare. So it's about 7 a.m. and we're waiting for the bus. And I'm listening next morning to the Pollock and Thurston interview. I've never rolled my eyes harder to the response to a very well worded and very I can't put over Pollock enough for the way he talked about the CM Punk stuff. And he was he worded it in such a way that it was like, Tony, you can say, we're looking forward to having CM Punk back after his injury. Yada. Like, you could say that. You could go there. But instead, he turns it into, first episode of Collision, big 6-man tag. Looking forward to this at the United Center, and we're going to sell it. Don't sell me. I'm already sold. I'm watching on Saturday. A lot of people listening are already watching on Saturday. Give me a human aspect. Give me a human response to, we're looking forward to having Punk back in AEW. We're looking forward to AEW Collision. This will be CM Punk's first opportunity to address the way, whatever, just something that wasn't automatic promoter mode. And again,
that's
the question was asked so well. He wasn't asking it in a gotcha way, but like Tony responded as if he was trying to get him in a gotcha way.
That's been Tony's default for a little while now. And I get it. Like, you don't want to just tell everything in some stuff you clearly can't talk about, doesn't want to talk about, whatever it might be. But like he's gotten to the point where he just like does it for everything, not even just like Punk. It's like any question you have for him. It's just um he just gives promoter speak on it. And as someone who likes covering the news, someone who covers a lot of news, it's a little frustrating because I obviously, I would prefer like hard answers, good answers. And I'm sure as like an interviewer, there's a frustration aspect to it because you would prefer hard answers and good answers as an interviewer. I'm sure as like a listener, like maybe some people are very sold on this, but I think when you're doing this stuff with a wrestling website, like you're getting the promotion out there anyway. Like again, wrestling websites are going to cover wrestling. Like you don't need to sell your wrestling show to a wrestling website. They either know it or they don't know it. They're either going to watch or they're not going to watch at this point. Tony Khan being like 6-man tag, CM Punk, him saying all this and hyping the show is not like, you know what? Now I'm going to watch the show because Tony did an interview with Post and now I really want to watch this show. It just, that ain't going to sell at this point, So I wish Tony would just give like a little, just like a little bit more to it. Big Man Dog says the only genuine answer I remember him giving was he's looking forward to Collision to have a different philosophy to it and not 2 more hours of Dynamite. Like he can give good answers. Like he honestly can. Like I distinctly remember. I think it was Busted Open, and we probably covered this on Newsworthy, where he was asked about like, oh, what did you learn from the fallout from All Out? And he gave like a really good answer of like the people who are there for you and the people who like have your back through all of this. And it was a very human answer and a very human emotion answer into it. And I was like, oh, this like, I want more of that. I'm fine. Like, if you don't want to like fully answer the question, I get it. Like, if you won't want to talk about CM Punk, if you can't talk about CM Punk and all that, like, I get it. But just give like a human answer to some of this stuff instead of just like promotion, 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 promotion. As I think people will appreciate that a little bit more, especially when you're doing all of these interviews, because when you do these interviews, like it just like it all just runs together of just like, okay, Tony, we get it. Like you got a show coming up, you want to promote it and stuff. And I understand, like, but if AEW offered us Tony Khan right now, we wouldn't be like, nah, you know what? Tony's not going to give us any good answers. We don't want him on the show. We would obviously love to have Tony on the show. I understand why anybody would want to interview Tony, but I also think there's maybe a little bit of frustration after you interview Tony of like, wish I just talked to like Darby Allin. He told me about climbing Mount Everest at this point because I would have gotten more out of that interview than Tony's hype for 30 minutes.
Okay, so it's a 15-minute interview with Tony. All we're gonna ask him are ECW questions. That's it.
See, and honestly, like that might be the route to go with Tony Khan is ask him this like historical kind of stuff, and he will give you like fun anecdotal answers on that. Because if you try to ask him, hey, is Miro unhappy? What's the deal with him? Have you talked to Andrade? We're excited to have Andrade and Miro back on Dynamite. We're excited to have Buddy Matthews and Andrade back on Dynamite as they fight for the love of their girlfriends and other companies and things like that. Like that, he would say that. I guess Charlotte's wife, not girlfriend. Anyway, but like that's what he's gonna talk about. Like if you just try to ask him questions about this current product, he's just gonna hype whatever he's there to hype. Legitimately, like if you ask him like ECW stuff, WCW mistakes or something like that, get him going on Bischoff or something. There's some headline bait for everybody. Just like get him. What do you think of Eric Bischoff's comments that CM Punk is a waste of money? Your response, Tony, and let him go on that. That's how we would interview Tony Khan. Everybody, we wouldn't ask him anything about what's happening in AEW. It's a great sell. AEW people are going to listen to this, like, these idiots are never interviewing Tony Khan. Yeah.
I'd ask him about ECW, yes, but then I'd probably get into like his booking philosophy vis-a-vis ECW, WCW. Like I'd try to tie it in. I'm sure we would. Or like, your favorite movie and like, oh, there's this scene. Oh, it reminds me of like an AEW, da 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 da. Like you do have to be smart. And that's the one thing about these interviews is that you can ask canned questions, sure. But like once in a while, you got to bring up something that's going to make them think and be like, my favorite is when you legitimately get an interviewee answer like, oh shit, that's a really good question. And Sean Evans is really good at that. He gets that on Hot Ones all the time because him and his research team go deep and find some really ridiculous shit to ask. And that's the kind of stuff that I always want to get to, especially when I know the talent or when I know the person coming.
I get why Tony does all these interviews. I understand it. He can give good answers when he wants to. I don't even say when he's asked good questions, because that would be disingenuous to be like Brandon Thurston and John Paul, who didn't ask any good questions, because that's stupid. Like, they asked very good questions. He can give good answers when he wants to. It's just a lot of times he's just going to do the promoter speak things. And I would like to just maybe that's how you just got to interview Tony. Just don't let him promote. Don't have the promoter on to promote. Just talk about other stuff, because he's going to find a way to promote that shit anyway. Like anyone who's listens to Tony, you can ask him about the WCW stuff, ECW stuff. You can definitely ask him about that stuff, and he's still going to find a way to be like, oh yeah, ECW, blah, 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 blah. And that's what I did this past week on Dynamite with all the run-ins and the chaos to end the show and everything. And like, I thought we had a great episode of Dynamite, one of the best shows we've ever done. It got a 9.10 on Cage Match, one of the highest ratings we've done on Cage. Like, he's going to find a way to promote and hype the product. Doesn't matter what question you ask him. So in the meantime, at least get like some other answer out of him.
We broke the moratorium. We broke Cage Match. Cage Match is not operating the same way that it used to. We are huge game changers in the wrestling sphere. We have brought Cage Match to their knees. Yeah, you're right. It's true. But you know who else is a really good promoter? Your talents.
Yeah. And like, sometimes maybe just let them do the interviews. I understand Tony's gonna get more headlines and cause more waves on this stuff, but I just listened to a Miro interview with, I apologize, I'll look it up because the name escapes me. It was a really good interview. Good Karma Wrestling did the interview with Miro, and that was really good. And like, Miro gave like kind of short answer, but when you don't hear from Miro, like, this is like one of his first interviews since coming back and everything. We don't hear from these guys. You're gonna get plenty of coverage out of that. If Tony's doing the same interview, 5 times a week and saying the same stuff, the coverage runs together and you just won't get any coverage out of it. But yeah, if you let Miro go talk, if you let, I don't know if Malachi Black wants to do interviews, but he's always very well spoken in interviews.
He loves wrestling media, Malachi Black.
Yeah, let me tell you.
Yeah. Big fans, especially Fightful. Big fan of Fightful. He's
regardless, I think Malachi Black is very good in interviews if he wants to do interviews. Thunder Rosa, she does Busted Open, but I would like to see her like in an interview setting ask questions and not like in a favorable environment. Busted Open, very favorable environment for Thunder Rosa. So I'd like to see her like in an interview setting, like actually ask these questions and not just like Thunder Rosa addresses her enemies on Busted Open. It's a great segment.
Wrestling enemies.
Yeah. Oh, no. Well, Sean Ross Sapp.
Hi, Eggman.
Hey, why would you call me an Eggman?
Cuckoo, we've been through this.
Because I don't just eat eggs. I eat eggs on breakfast burritos.
Oh, wow. You've leveled up.
Yeah, I have.
Sean sent me a picture of eggs the other day. And at first I was very confused as to what it was. Because one, it wasn't a Monday, Wednesday, or Friday. So it wasn't even like an in the weeds day.
Yeah.
I think it was like Tuesday or something. And I looked at it. I was just confused as to what it was at first. And then I realized, oh, it's eggs.
It is eggs. It is eggs. I'm going to SmackDown tonight.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I'll be in the second row. Is it? Yeah, I'm going to have some news today on Fightful Select about why all of a sudden SmackDown is advertising things 1, 2, and 3 weeks out, which is very, very interesting. But yeah, it's been cool. I've had people telling me that they like my city, which is very nice because it is a very nice city. But I don't know. It's just like I'm waiting on this CM Punk thing to drop, and I'm like, oh boy.
I've been up since 6:30 waiting for this thing. What are we doing here?
Listen, so I to address some of the questions, people are like, why is this only a big deal now? No, it's been a big deal for about a week. I've just been sitting on it since then. I first heard about it when I was trying to dig into the Kenta news, and somebody had said, man, he got pretty saucy about Kenta. And I was like, all right. I reached out to somebody that knew Punk, and they were like, yeah, he thinks he might come off a little bad in this interview. I didn't know who did the interview. And there are people that were around the situation that got reached out to about this. And I can tell you that I've been reached out to by a lot of people just to find out what I knew about this, because they weren't sure how I would even find out about such a thing. But hey, it's wrestling. It's media. People talk. But it is a situation where I think there were a lot of gray areas that were mentioned and discussed. But I feel like the things that I heard that he said about Hangman were probably how he really felt about Hangman. But Hangman very much just goes out of his way to never talk about CM Punk. And I'll point you guys to, I think it was a Wrestling Inc. interview that Nick Hausman did about a year ago, where he brought up Punk. And he's like, I don't really want to talk about that. And this is well before a lot of that stuff. So I guess we'll see. But yeah, I see that in the Observer that AEW is hoping the comments that Punk made about Hangman would not be a part of the article video. Okay, since that's out there, I can confirm that. I can definitely confirm that, because the conversations that I had before I found out about the Hangman stuff and then after I found out about the Hangman stuff were categorically different. They were significantly different in tone and just a lot of other things.
You got a few guys going under contract negotiations. And it was in the Observer. That was really the comment. It was like, they hope they wipe it because that is a major situation. You have one of your major stars in Hangman Page dealing with contract negotiations, and this article might have him getting buried in it. That looks stupid and terrible at the same time.
Might have him getting buried in it. And then what I have said all along, and I'll paint this picture for our viewers. If I'm Hangman, Omega, and the Bucks, secretly, whether or not I feel like, okay, Punk's all right, I can do business with him, whatever, I'm telling Tony Khan and my lawyers, nope, I don't want to work with him unless you pay me. Because when I got recruited from Wrestling Inc. by Jimmy Van in 2016, I had been put on a show on Wrestling Inc. with Vince Russo that I did not want to do. The phrase I used was, I don't want to compromise my integrity from somebody who doesn't have any. Raj said, you know what? I think he can make this work. I think he can get some good stuff out of him. And I did. So I'm leaving Wrestling Inc. I'm so excited to not work with Vince Russo anymore. Then I find out Jimmy is secretly negotiating with Vince Russo to bring that show over. And the amount that I had agreed to for Jimmy all of a sudden jumped up. I said, listen, I'm not going to pass up this opportunity, but I'm not going to work with this guy for this amount of money. It's too much of a risk for me. And eventually we fired him 3 months later. So it all worked out in the end. But I mean, how do you think I get this many raises now? I'm like, you expect me to work with Joe Pearl?
Fightful champion Joel Pearl.
I need 750K minimum for that.
That's how I keep getting mine. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm adding more work with Joel Pearl to my plate. I got to get paid better.
How come
You don't even have to ask. I just offer them like, here's your Joel Pearl bonus.
Can I have more money for making you guys
Gotta go.
better?
No.
Damn it.
Probably not.
I can't win. Why can't I win? What? At least I know how to get rid of them. I want to real quick.
Yeah, just ask for a raise. That used to be my bit. Is I'd ask for a raise and he'd leave, but then he gave me one, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, I can. I don't know if I can do that. Give me a new title with that and everything." So, yeah. Now,
Why'd somebody ask me if I'm leaving? You're leaving Fightful. I literally own the company.
I think it's because you misspoke earlier talking about the Wrestling Inc. thing, because you said leaving Fight and you picked yourself up. That's all that was.
I got an 8-year deal. I'm signed till 2030. I own part of the company. I ain't going anywhere. Here's a little scoop. I have had multiple media outlets reach out to me over the past 2 weeks, though.
Oh, 2 weeks. I know of one
weeks.
that was a while ago.
It's one of them is the same one.
Oh, okay.
Via somebody who wants to rep me and take some of my money. And I'm like, buddy, well, let me tell you, if I join this place, the money will not last. It will not last for either one of us. So I ain't going anywhere.
Wait, I know two of them that happened. One was a big one. I'll text you. And now, as I don't want to.
It's that one.
On there. Oh, really? Okay. Hold on. Let me text and just confirm this.
Oh, now I want in on this. Wait, can I have this money?
We'll do it in the private chat.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Genghis Khan asking Sean, is my nephew going to be at Forbidden Door?
I think Great O'Con will be there, but no to the last one, Jeremy.
Yeah, I know why on the last one.
Yeah, the first one is always a standing offer, and the other one is contingent on WWE deal stuff. But I don't think I'd be a good fit. So,
I'll
tell the story one day.
Okay. Yeah, I can't see you. I really can't see you anywhere but Fightful at this point, largely because I leave like I'm screwed.
There you go. There you go.
Damn job creators.
See you guys later.
Take
Bye,
care.
Sean.
Have fun at SmackDown tonight.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Yeah, it's really frustrating that he has such a good stake here that we're like, oh, what a jerk. He also makes good jobs for us.
Dude, if Sean leaves, people have said this in the past of like, you're like second in charge at Fightful. Like you're like the news guy and everything. I'm like, absolutely not. Like, I don't want that at all. Cause I'm not a scoopster. Like I don't want to do, I like my space. I like to grow within that space. That's why I keep adding more and more to my plate. But like, I don't want to do what Sean does. I see the idiots he has to deal with. I see the idiots like people like him, Wade, Dave, and all. Like they got to deal. Like I don't want any of that. Like I'm good.
First of all,
good with that.
Hold on. Let's just figure this out. First of all, Wade doesn't deal with them because
he doesn't.
Wade is so incredibly offline.
Yeah, he's smart.
Just like, huh? Oh, yeah. Anyway, Wade Keller hotline tonight. VIP.
Yeah, he's at least very smart about that. But he still gets like you see the comments. He might not deal with it, but you see the comments and everything. Like I don't want to do any of that. I'm happy with where I'm at. Like so, if Sean leaves, I don't know what happens because Select isn't Select because that's very much driven by his news. We have a great content team with YouTube. We have great personalities on the main channel and on this channel. Our news team does a very good job with everything. But I think a lot of people know, and if you don't know, ain't a lot of money in this game. Definitely ain't a lot of money on like news writing and that side of things, because I don't understand. And that's the other thing. Sean is like, he understands business aspects of a lot of this stuff that I don't. And I truthfully, because it's not where my role is, I don't care to understand a lot of that stuff either. If he wants me to help, cool. Like I will. Like, I know Kate's done a good job of securing sponsorships and everything, but like that stuff just ain't for me. That ain't what I'm good at. Like that's just not what I'm good at. So nah, man, if Sean leaves, we're all screwed. Honestly, Jimmy's just gonna be like, well, we had a good run, we'll do a podcast called however many weeks we've done this for. I don't know how long.
It'll be like four years, whatever that amounts to in weeks.
Yeah, 4 years.
We'll bring in Eric Kirchhoff. He'll talk about it, but he'll know nothing about it.
Yeah. We had a good run and everything. That'll be it when Sean leaves. Then maybe Tony will answer my DMs about trying to get a job at AEW.
I think I just realized I do the most amount of shows on this like platform.
On Overbooked?
No, on Fightful, period. I do 5 shows a week on Fightful.
So do I.
Do you? Spotlights? Yeah. This one? What am I missing?
FMC.
Oh, FMC. That's right. It's okay. Yeah. So you and I are both 5 shows a week.
Yeah.
It's bonkers. That's absolutely wild.
We should both get raises, Joel.
We should both get raises.
How many shows does Kate do? I feel like Kate does like 20 shows.
Kate does 4. I was thinking about it while you were talking about the select stuff. Because and Kate, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong.
Step your game up, Kate.
That's right. She's got Sundays with me, and then she's got Tuesdays on main, and then 2 more on select with Alex. And I think that's it. I mean, like on Fightful. I know Mark Order and all that stuff, but I can't think of any other show she does on Fightful. But yeah,
she can correct us. Pulowski does
3 as well, because he's got Sour Graps and he does Wednesdays. Oh, and so 4. He does the NXT review, so he's also 4.
All right,
Kate, correct me if we're wrong. Don't say sad. Excuse me into hem. You're more than welcome to send a super chat that says Jeremy.
Send a super chat. Send a super chat with all the shows that you do. Oh yeah, Kate does the SmackDown review.
Does anyone really watch the SmackDown review? Like
not since Sean and I left. Nobody watches that show.
Yeah, there's the Cardoza thing. I guess he's great.
There you go. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday.
So that's 3.
Right. So she has 5.
Okay, so we're all on par here.
I'm gonna add another show.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
I'm gonna do Coffee and Collision on Sundays, Joel.
I just love SP3 absolutely called him out on it.
Coffee and Collision with me, Jeremy Lambert. I will have my coffee and I will do a 2-minute review of Collision.
That's how you do it. You're like, I do 6 shows a week. It's like, wait, what's the 6th one? Coffee Collision. It's a 10-minute review. Oh, that's why.
Counts, right?
It does. Content. Pay-per-views don't count because pay-per-views just don't count. We've already established this.
I used to do pay-per-views, and then I got too important on the news side. Sadly, I was dumb, and I did too good of a job on the news side that they were like, oh, we definitely need you covering this because otherwise we're behind on everything. So you can't do pay-per-views anymore. I was like, oh, that's unfortunate, but sure. I guess now I don't do pay-per-views anymore because I have to transcribe Tony Khan media calls.
Someone in the chat saying we're going to be sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. That sounds awful, but if it makes us money, let's do it.
We'll take any sponsorship that makes us money.
As long as it's not one of those like download specific sponsorships.
Nah, man, just pay me. I don't care. Just pay me.
You ain't co-hosting nothing, Kate. Huh? I almost used your shoe name on the air. I also brought up a super chat with a name on it. So let's face it, if you're gonna dox her, it's already happening here.
Yeah, it's
let's go. Anyway,
don't dox anybody.
No, don't dox anybody. We're not here to dox anybody.
You know what'd be cool, Joel?
Oh,
if
Cody. Cody in the chat mentions that I do 6 if we include the Impact Plus shows. Those are not pay-per-views, so yes, now we're up to 6. All right, I'm done with this dick measuring contest.
They run a show like every single week.
Every
like
2 weeks
pay-per-view
is a
show.
stupid Friday show. They did it with Under Siege, and then they did it with Against All Odds. And I looked at myself. And I said, "Self." No, I was just like, "What are we doing? We just did one of these." But Against All Odds ended up being a really good show, so I can't complain anymore.
I'm sad that I didn't get to go to it. I was kind of planning on going, and more important matters to take care of, but it ended up being a good show. I'm glad it was a good show. I'm not gonna lie, I've not watched the entire show. I have seen Shelley and Macklin because I do love me some Alex Shelley, and Steve Macklin is the most charismatic man in the world, the furthest thing from generic, and so I definitely wanted to watch that match. So I have seen that match. I've not seen the rest of the show. I'm sort of out of the loop on wrestling. I watched all of Dynamite, and I've watched bits and pieces of other stuff. I'm caught up enough to be caught up on the stuff that I kind of care about, but it's not my completionist stuff of like, oh, I've watched everything like I usually have. But we can, much like the CM Punk interview that is not dropped yet, and who knows if it will drop at this point. I can just talk like I know what I'm talking about, even if I haven't seen anything. That's what we all do here in the wrestling media, right? We talk like we act like we know everything about everything, even if like the stuff hasn't come out yet or we haven't actually watched it.
I mean, I guess we should talk about it. Alex Shelley wins the the Punk ESPN stuff. So it's clearly there. I mean, Sean just popped on to talk about it, and thankful for that because it really does kind of give extra painting to the Fightful Select report. There is an article. It exists somewhere. There was an interview that CM Punk did with ESPN. A lot of this kicked off with the transcription from Wrestling News Co. about Wade Keller's comments on his VIP hotline, and people kind of getting upset about Wade reporting it like that. Well, first of all, I'm going to push back for a second. I know that I defend Wade quite a bit, and I just made fun of the fact that he's so largely offline that he just doesn't care. Wade's been doing this for like 30 years, almost 35 years. He did it behind his paywall, and somebody took it and transcribed it. And they transcribed the part where he was just like, something's happening, it's coming. It was a tease. If he had reported it as per normal, yeah, I think more people should be like frustrated, not upset by any means, but frustrated. And yeah, he kind of made reference to something that was going to come out that was going to annoy people about CM Punk. And it's just what he does sometimes. I've listened to Wade for countless years, and sometimes he does that because sometimes Wade just likes to talk for the sake of talking, just like you and I do. So Sean then has to get on it and be like, all right, I have news coming to Fightful Select, and the news comes out about what this is about, or what we were most likely it will be about, and it is about the CM Punk ESPN interview. And some of the things that were said and weren't said. And then the conversation changes to, is it a work? Is it a shoot? And I think that honestly, the answer is both. In certain, again, topic specific, the Kenta stuff feels more like he's just working, and that's fine because they have zero time to build a match if they're going to do a Forbidden Door match. And then there's the Hangman stuff that came out, a couple hours later. And if that is him kind of putting his, whatever the words are, if those are his true feelings about Hangman, then that's a whole other can of worms that you're dealing with because you got a contract situation. It's just a lot. There's so much going on.
Joel.
Shoot, baby.
Joel. This man, Chick Magnet Punk, came out there on AEW Dynamite after his return from his injury to the first time he was going to speak since returning from his foot injury. And the first thing he did was say, that ain't cowboy shit. That's coward shit. That was the first thing this man did after he already defeated Hangman Page. After there was no thread between him and Hangman Page at all on AEW television. When it's supposed to be this big celebration of Punk, he's about to fight Jon Moxley to unify the titles. He said, Hangman Page, I'm going to sit in this ring and you don't have the balls to come fight me.
And that started the firestorm on the post shows. Because at that point, we were like, well, that was a non sequitur. What the hell was that? So go ahead, continue.
All I'm saying is that man keeps some type of energy for Hangman Page.
Does he hate Cowboys? Did a cowboy hurt CM?
He's a Bears fan. He's a Bears fan. I mean, the Cowboys and Bears don't play that often, but the Bears kind of suck. So I imagine the Cowboys beat up the Bears a lot.
Oh my God. And it makes sense because of the Seth Rollins CM Punk feud. Holy shit.
That man keeps an energy for Hangman Page. That's all I know when it comes to that. So I don't think I'm with you on like work shoot kind of stuff. Yeah, Kenta feels like working and everything because they're probably trying to set up a match according to that there was interest in the match. Everything Kenta feels like he's doing the same thing on Twitter and everything. But Hangman, you got to have some real feelings for your first comments on your return to be aimed at him for no reason. And then, to still talk about him in, like the press conference and then this interview that may or may not happen. I like this comment by Mr. Bish, by the way. I genuinely think it annoys Punk that Hangman doesn't bite back. Yeah. I kind of agree with that. Like Hangman, he did that Instagram post where he's like, I didn't want to address this, but like, I do listen to veterans. Like if I feel whatever he said, I don't want to put words in his mouth. I don't want to misrepresent his Instagram post. But like he said that. Otherwise, like Hangman doesn't do a lot of interviews. And when he does, he either isn't asked about Punk or doesn't talk about Punk. And I do think that like Punk likes he likes a good verbal spar, right? Like people like that. People who keep that verbal energy, they like to see what you can push back with because then they can bite back at you. And they like to win. They like to get the upper hand on that kind of stuff. And the fact that Hangman is just like, I found the old piece of bread behind my fridge yesterday. Don't know if I should eat it. Like the fact that Hangman is like that, Punk might feel a little annoyed by that. He just wants some fire. Maybe he's trying to bring that fire.
I'm starting to think that Hangman is Cassidy Haynes. I found a 3-day-old taco in the door of my car. Should I eat it? Instagram, yes or no?
And that was what Hangman said, something like a Snickers. He found like an old Snickers and he's like, should I eat this or not? That's a real story that he tweeted, which I assume means it's real.
The answer is always yes.
Yeah.
So when you and I used to do a show on this channel called Newsworthy, we would take news stories from the week that you had written and we talk about it. We'd expand upon them. And one of them happened to have been what the story that you mentioned about the legends and whether or not at that autograph signing, it was a virtual signing that he did. And and Adam Page talked about the legends stuff. I don't always listen to legends. And you and I talked about it at length on that episode. And it's suddenly become like the whole basis for what feels like the whole basis for CM Punk's beef with Hangman Page. That and the workers' rights stuff. But we're focused on the other thing. It's a very strange situation to be going after the guy who seems like he's the nicest, most well-balanced member of the elite, who's not even like who's like elite. What's the word? He's aside to the adjacent. Thank you. Because Kenny is like, if you take the elite, he's considered, I guess, the nicest member of the elite. Now we're getting weird because there's only 3-4 members of the elite. Now we're just saying the Young Bucks are assholes. But anyway, the point is, and I don't think that, by the way. But like Hangman, by and large, like people just like him. He doesn't seem to rattle any cages or hurt anybody. And for some reason, Punk has this hate on. And at one point, like, has someone not said to him, like, you're not helping your own cause by going after the guy who's almost universally loved by the locker room?
I'm sure somebody has said that. I don't think Punk kind of cares at this point. If he cared, he wouldn't continue to say these things. I think there's a bit of a power play here by Punk. There's been a power play by Punk. You go back and you rewatch those Double or Nothing promos, and you can kind of feel it in those promos. Hindsight is always 2020 on this, and with all the stories that have come out, it's a little bit easier to armchair quarterback that this kind of stuff is like, oh, when he said this, that he really meant this. Now that we know all this things, so like I get that, and you don't always want to do that, but like if you go back and rewatch that stuff, when Hangman talks about I gotta save AEW from you, everything, and Punk is like, why are you so mad at this? Like I'm just telling you, this isn't personal to me. Like this is just a match for me. And then Hangman gets fired up, tries to make it personal, and now I think Punk's just needling at stuff when it comes to Hangman. And I don't know if it is personal for Punk. I think clearly some comments made him mad, but now I think Punk is just like, how far can I go and what can I accomplish? And he might have his answer sooner rather than later. And, if Hangman's contract is coming up and everything, like he might have his answer of how far he can push things and what he can accomplish. Oh, it's interesting. Look, man, I don't know when this Punk interview is going to drop. I thought it was going to be like 8:00. I thought it was going to be 9:00. Definitely thought it was going to be before our show. And now here we are. We got a half hour left on our show. It's not up yet. Usually they drop this kind of stuff at the top of the hour. So maybe noon is when it comes out. I'm not sure. Maybe it doesn't come out until the afternoon.
I think Tony is talking to an editor, just being like, we're going over and
So,
over and over and over this thing.
I do wonder, like, now that this portion, Sean said it, like AEW was trying to do some damage control when it came to a portion of it. Now that this Wade's tease came out, Dave has said what he said, Sean has said what he said. Now that everything has come out on this, like, are they like really trying to fine tooth comb this thing of like, oh, what can be said? What should we take out kind of thing? Because I do think, and it was in the report of like, oh, there's some work shoot kind of stuff and he wants it to be that way. I do think on the whole, the Hangman stuff aside, because I think that's a very real thing based on all the information we have, feels like a very real thing. Look, if this is a work, they're doing a hell of a job. They got me sold. Do the match. I'll buy that ticket.
But if this is a work, they're pulling it. They're doing the Dixie thing again.
Yeah,
it's a problem. Locker room morale already took a hit when Punk decided to go nuclear, and that was a whole other thing. You can't do it again because there's no way that this locker room is not clued in if it's a work, because they talk and people talk. And I don't care how many locker room backstage conversations you have about what off the record means. You can't play the role of, you can't keep your locker room in the dark is what I'm really getting at. You can't.
Right. So here's my point to all of this though. Like if he's working in these comments, whatever he says about Kenta, even whatever he says about the Elite, like I don't know if he mentions the Elite and what kind of tone and context he mentions the Elite. And if he does, CM Punk is very smart when it comes to just like professional wrestling and working professional wrestling. And I think he is always looking for that angle. And I think some of the frustration from him, and I've been projecting feelings a little bit. I don't know CM Punk. I don't know how he's actually feeling. This is my interpretation of things. I always want to make that clear. I think some of the frustrations from him might be that like everyone else is not on board with this work. And why they aren't on board with this work is for them. Again, it's not, this whole thing hasn't been a work, by the way. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is Punk sees the money in all of this, right? He sees the money in all of this, and he's going to push and push and push in media and interviews because he sees the money in this. And the others, they don't interpret it like this. They don't see it like this. They got the real feelings, emotions of this. And it's like, you know what? We're just not going to set this aside. We're just not going to forget all these comments and what happened. And so we're not going to work with you. You can keep saying this stuff, whatever. We don't care. We're not going to bother with you. Do your own thing. And I think that might frustrate Punk a little bit as well.
And I agree with the fact that, like, yeah, he's trying to stir up buzz for Collision, especially if this is like his show as reported. Like, I don't mean it's literally, but I think there is a certain amount of feeling inside of Punk. And again, I'm not shrinking him, that he feels like this is his show, that it is on his shoulders, that week after week, Collision will be the what is CM Punk going to do this week's show. And as a result, he's got to get eyes on it and it's got to be hot right off the bat. That's fine. And he does know that he wants the money and that he wants others to make the money, I'm sure, too. Got to pick that battle right, though. Hangman's not the match. Hangman and Punk, it wasn't the match from the get-go.
I think it's become one of the matches, though.
It's becoming the match, but now, like, you can't force someone's hand into it. And it feels like he's trying to do just that because Hangman is like, I ain't interested in this conversation.
This is where just it's a difference in mentality, I feel like. And it's been a difference in mentality between these two sides from the very start. Because Punk sees things in a more old school approach. You know, he's the Bret Hart school of everything. Of like, let's be real and let's make wrestling real. Let's go out there and just do real stuff when it comes to this. And the elite side, not always like that. I'm not saying their wrestling is bad at all. Like, I love the work of the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. But they're doing the quote unquote acrobats performance type of stuff. They're doing the more athletic kind of wrestling and everything. And they're not so much into like protecting stuff. Like, they're being the elite is very, very poke fun at everything type of show, right? But like, this is how AEW was founded. This is their philosophy on things. And it's just a different philosophy than what CM Punk has. And I think for some reason, Punk just, the philosophy for him, because it doesn't align, he's a little frustrated with that. Like, Hangman has become the match for him. One of them, anyway. Like, it's one of them. And Omega certainly won. I think the Elite versus CM FTR is certainly one. And yeah, I think Punk wants to make money with all of these guys. And I think he's maybe a little frustrated that they don't want to make money in the same way. But he can't control that anymore at this point. Like, he can't force them to work. Okay, so let me correct myself a little bit. Maybe he can control that if there's an actual private apology to all of this on all sides, by the way. I'm not saying Punk just needs to apologize and then the Elite should be like, thanks, buddy. Like, everyone needs to come together and be like, I'm sorry for this. I'm sorry for this. I'm sorry for that. Like, I don't really care about the public apology. I know Punk had to let the apology be as loud as the disrespect, and the disrespect was pretty loud. So yeah, maybe the apology in a public sense should be really loud. But I don't really care about that. Keep working me on media, keep working me on television. If you've apologized privately, and like, that's what this actually is. It is kind of a work issue here. But it doesn't seem like there's been any of that. It just doesn't seem like, it could be completely wrong. Maybe this all settles and we get the matches that we want at some point in time. Right now, there's the divide there, and both sides are going to be, they're going to feel how they feel about it. And one side is being a lot louder about their feelings, whether it's through media interviews that have not been released or through reports from that side. One side's being louder than the other when it comes to this. And I agree with Kate that a public apology would be silly. I don't need all of that on my wrestling television. Like, I don't need CM Punk coming out on Collision tomorrow and be like, so what do you want to talk about? The Elite. Hey guys, sorry for what I said. You guys could manage a target. I'm sorry I threw a punch. Sorry my friend threw a chair. I don't want any of that, because then it almost feels a little fake at that point. And then they're just going to keep working, and then they're going to work together after they've apologized. No, let it be real on television, as long as you've kumbaya'd backstage.
No public apology. Yes. No public apology. But definitely just, I don't want him to come out on Saturday and be like, okay, he says on Dynamite, I have a lot of things to get off my chest. And immediately people are just like, oh, he's going to talk about it. No, he's not going to talk about it. He's going to make up, something for a story. And that's fine. Because the story is Punk hasn't been out because he was suspended. Punk's been out because he's been injured. He's going to be like, at All Out, I won the AEW championship. And in the match, I tore my quadricep, or my triceps. And because of that, yada, 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 I can't make it. Or I couldn't be here for you guys. The story will not be, my friend bit a guy and I fought the EVPs. It's not going to be that, for many reasons, including the legal and the fact that none of this happened on AEW television or has been alluded to. They're not going to get into that. The apology should be backstage. I've said this a million times. Back in the old days, they would split a bottle of God knows what, and they would all talk it through, and by the end, they'd be pals again. I'm not saying they need to go get drunk and be best buddies again, but what I'm saying is there needs to be some sort of conversation, which is inevitable, by the way, because at one point they will all be under the same roof again as early as next Sunday, and you can't keep each other apart forever. And that is a silly assumption to make. So everyone's just got to figure this shit out and grow up. That's really what we've been saying since the beginning. And this ESPN interview, if it's him working and he didn't tell certain people that he was going to say some stuff, then I think everyone looks stupid. And that's less damage control on the Hangman stuff. It becomes damage control with it's communication control, which unfortunately we've discovered over the years isn't really an AEW strong suit right now. Their communication is not always the best backstage or ahead of. Prime example, this past Wednesday on Dynamite, everybody saw this. Rampage was very much an afterthought. Normally you have all the graphics on the screen as Excalibur is going 100 miles an hour, and that's fine in the case of what we're talking about. Instead, they literally got to, the last 2 minutes of the show, and that's when Excalibur was finally saying, these are the matches coming up, because there was no communication on what the matches were, or at least there was no promotion as to what was coming up on Rampage. And as a result, things just kind of flew under the radar because Rampage hasn't been important and because there was no communication there. Very roundabout way to say communication in that company seems to be lacking in a lot of different ways. And this might just be another example of that. But again, it comes down to the professionals in the room, the talent in this case, to figure the shit out and stop just needling each other through the media. It's entertaining as hell for us, but they need to talk about it. And then who else needs to talk about it? They all need to talk to therapists about it, because this is also another side of it. When you started talking about when you started your last point, I was like, everyone just needs therapy here, because everyone sucks and everyone just takes shots at each other needlessly because they're making assumptions on how someone feels about them and vice versa. Guess what helps figure that out? Good friggin' therapy. Good, honest to God therapy can help you with this. And I'm gonna get off the soapbox about therapy now, but point is, there are a lot of things that need to be figured out. This is a professional company. This is a professional setting, and they need something or someone to figure it out. and it's not going to be Dax with a bottle of that tequila this time around.
You never know. Well, no, Punk doesn't drink. So.
Punk doesn't drink. The Bucks don't really drink. Kenny, though, I would love Kenny doing the two-handed with the bottle. So that would be funny. Someone was guessing with missing tomorrow was a scrum. Buddy, I'm already going to sit through one of those in Toronto. Not a collision, but a Forbidden Door. I don't even know what the hell I'm going to do there.
You should ask Tony some questions. I'll feed you some.
I have some legitimate questions I do want to ask that are not shitty or baity or anything like that.
All right, ask me one of your Tony Khan questions. I'll answer it for you, Joel.
Hold on, I got to open up my keep here. I keep it on a different phone now because I don't want people to hack into my. No, I just have a different phone. One sec. My keep is also on all my other phones, so I don't know why I went to my old one. I do want to ask about the why they decided on Toronto and Hamilton in close succession for 4 televised events while making staggered announcements about Collision in the meantime and how that's affected their sales. I think that's something that they've had to figure out. But someone in the chat was actually talking about that the ticket prices have come down and they are now doing bulk rate tickets for Hamilton and Toronto, which is great. But like this has been a very contentious conversation since they announced Collision and had Dynamite and Forbidden Door announced separately. So
okay, ask your question. Ask your question.
I don't want to ask the question right now.
No, ask it.
No, because I'm not in the headspace to ask it, but that is essentially what I'm asking is like what went into the decision to announce Forbidden Door and Dynamite in Hamilton and Toronto, and then knowing that you had Collision coming, announce another set of TV tapings, so 4 tapings in succession with markets that are very close by. That's the crux of the question.
Well, Joel, that's a great question. We have great fans here in Canada, and we were very excited to bring Forbidden Door to Toronto, and we were very excited to bring this whole string of shows to Toronto. You know, we had the Owen Hart Memorial Cup. Owen Hart, one of Canada's greatest wrestlers of all time. We were very excited to show off the new talent in the Owen Hart Memorial Cup and have just a great tournament for the fans here in Canada for the Owen Hart Memorial Cup. Kenny Omega, one of the greatest Canadian wrestlers of all time. He was a big part of all of these shows. We knew Kenny Omega was going to be a big part of all of these events, especially tonight with his match against Will Ospreay at Forbidden Door. One of the best matches I've ever seen. I thought it topped their Wrestle Kingdom match. It was honestly one of the greatest matches of all time and happened right here in Toronto at Forbidden Door. And then, of course, Chris Jericho, a legendary Canadian wrestler, arguably the greatest Canadian wrestler of all time, maybe even one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. Chris Jericho, he's been a huge part of Forbidden Door. He's been a huge part of Dynamite here in Canada. He's been a huge part of the Collision shows here in Canada. We were very excited to have Chris Jericho as part of this tour as well. We felt very strongly about the Canadian market. We've always had good feedback in Canada. The Canadian crowds have been great. Every time we've come here, we've gotten a good reception from everybody here in Canada. So we're very excited to come to Canada for the entire summer. That was a great question.
You know, it's more likely he's just going to throw Rafi Morphy. Chi-Town Spurs saying, for anyone who's going to Collision in Chicago, there's an amazing Italian bakery that does great subs called D'Amato's, a 5-minute drive from the United Center. No muffins though. Well, thank you for that. I would like to go to D'Amato's. If someone wants to Uber Eats me some D'Amato's to Toronto or D'Amato's, let's do that.
Never had it. Good luck.
I'm looking for the chat that went with it. Oh, here we go. Y Solobo sent to us a very generous super chat. Thank you. And it came with a chat that I just lost. There we go. This is going to sound like gatekeeping, but there's a segment of the AEW fan base that supported AEW from the jump throughout the pandemic. It's hard to support someone, CM Punk, that crapped on that. And I think that's a very good point. We've discussed this, you and I, before, that Punk came in after shit was tough. And again, in the media scrum, whether he misspoke or not, it's been dissected a million times. I'm trying to run a business. Well, is it the business of CM Punk, or is it AEW is his business he's bought in? Like, what did you mean by that? And are you just kind of like self-serving? So what do you think about this comment from Y Soloable?
I've been saying this. Anybody can look, I do a lot of shows. Nobody needs to go back and watch all of them. I've been saying this on a lot of different shows ever since all of this happened, though, that I think there is a sentiment within the elite. Again, I don't know this for certain or anything, but I could see it that CM Punk was a guy Tony Khan wanted from the very start. He wanted CM Punk from the start of AEW. And Punk was like, nope, I'm going to wait that out. And I understand Punk's position. He's been burned plenty of times, I'm sure, by new promoter, a lot of money. Hey, we're going to do this, this, and this. Like, I get where Punk was coming from on this. But he's like, now let me go take this WWE backstage gigs. Okay, let me go do that. That I'm secure in. I'm going to wait on this AEW thing. Meanwhile, you got the elite guys who jumped in, who went with Tony and were supportive of Tony and were ready to go through this. And then they went through the pandemic together. They did all of that together. They survived all of that. They survived that first year, which wasn't even a full year before a pandemic, but they survived all of that. All the stories dropped.
I was about to say it's there.
Okay. Do we have a link?
Give me a minute. I'll see if I can find it.
Is it audio or
no, it's on
okay.
Bill just Pritchard just posted it.
All right, so we've got it.
It's from Mark Raimondi, as we expected. Yeah. This is Should we read the whole thing?
No. I'm gonna kind of parse through it here.
Okay, while you parse through it, just to catch up for a sec. Cyclops better than Logan over on twitch.tv/Fightful Gaming saying, back when men were men, we had a locker room court, which was always just, unless you bribed the judge with beer. It's true, absolutely. There's a lot. I'm not going to Hamilton, by the way. There's no way. Couldn't pay me enough. Anytime I had to play a gig in Hamilton, I wasn't going to Hamilton. I didn't want to go to Hamilton. So here is the article talking about muffins, talking about
all right, here. I'm gonna read some quotes, okay?
Please.
So talking about kind of his triceps injury and why he was removed. And Punk says, I know pro wrestling is absolutely the most bizarre form of entertainment on earth, but to me, I treat it like a business and I treat it like the television show that it is. So y'all haven't seen me since I won the belt. I'm coming back. Tune in to find out exactly what I have to say. I'm picking up right where I left off, which Collision basically does pick up right where All Out left off, because Punk's back hasn't been seen since All Out. Andrade's back hasn't been seen since All Out. Miro's back hasn't been seen since All Out. Thunder Rosa advertised. She's been out since before All Outs. So yeah, it is just kind of picking up where All Out left off. Then he says 100%. He's physique, blah, blah, blah. All right. Rehab. It's a lot of writing and not so many quotes just now. So there's comment about the worker rights stuff. According to Punk, Page told him he said what he did because Punk had AEW wrestler and coach Colt Cabana fired from the company, or at least tried to. Punk and Cabana had a very public falling out years ago before Punk arrived in AEW that included multiple lawsuits. Punk said he told Page that was not true and that Cabana still worked for the company.
Okay, Punk I got one. Here's a quote from this whole thing from the Hangman match, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I proceed to have what I think was a garbage match because I think I'm trying to protect myself on stuff instead of actually just working and trying to put on the best performance I can. I'm keeping an eye out. Hangman Page, chopped me in the mouth one time. And I'm just like, okay, did you do that on purpose? You chipped my tooth. And I'm like, all right, should I give him a receipt? It changes the dynamic. It poisoned everything for me. It made it all really, really ugly. And that was what set off all of this. And here we are over a year later. And this ain't shit been done about it. That's a really awkward sentence to finish on. But yeah.
Things escalated after there's press conference. Okay. Punk said he regrets about what transpired in the media scrum and has since apologized to Khan for it. He said his and Khan's relationship is now great. The first thing I said to Tony when I sat down with him and spoke to him after it was, man, I'm really sorry I put you in that position, Punk said. I apologize for the scrum, but when you watch that scrum, you're looking at a very, very frustrated guy who had told people that's not the first time he heard all of that. It's not the first time lawyers were told all of that. And I was just looking for something to be done and nothing got done. So if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. And I just didn't approach it in the right manner, but tension was high. I was very, very pissed. I pretty much knew what I had just to injure myself again. I was hurt. I was disappointed. Yeah, it's very easy for me to say I regret that I handled that wrong 100%. After Punk left the news conference, this is the talk about the altercation. Punk said he doesn't like saying no comment, but that we were trying to move past what happened that night specifically. I don't think what happened was a big deal. This has happened in the last 10 months in hockey and basketball and baseball and just about every sport, and it's covered and gone the next day. I think because I have injured my tricep and been out for so long, I think it has been exacerbated. I think it's been exacerbated by the people spreading lies about the whole thing. And when in reality, my attitude is, well, shit happens.
They talk about Omega on the sessions, bless you.
Excuse me.
And he gives some thoughts on the Omega stuff. Punk said he had not had any conversations with Omega or the Jacksons since the incident, although he has tried. He said that he has reached out. He has gotten, quote, messages from lawyers saying, do not contact this person. Punk said he is unclear whether those responses came at the request of legal representatives of Omega and the Jacksons or a third party. Confirming a lot of stuff that had been reported on Fightful Select and other places.
Now we are all rolling in the mud. Should have happened and has never been course corrected. I understand people want to say that, oh man, Punk is a dick. Well, yeah, because I'm defending myself and I always defend myself. And I'm open to have full blown fucking sit down powwow discussions with everybody about it, but it hasn't happened yet. It's not because my lack of trying.
And then he starts putting over Collision as expected. Says, if I'm the poster boy, top guy, whatever, this is what people dream about. You get put in a position like this and, can't take the negative criticism. Personally, I look at it like a challenge. But as far as ticket sales for a Saturday night compared and contrast, I think it's a lot easier to move a Saturday night ticket to a live event than it is on a work day on a Wednesday. So there's positives and negatives. You know what I mean? And I don't look at the negatives as these huge detrimental things. I would venture to say that moving tickets on a Saturday night is a little more difficult, but good for Punk for trying to put the positive spin on it. He's got a lot of things to deal with on a Saturday versus a Wednesday night, in my opinion.
Then he just kind of talked about Collision, everything. He said he never thought about retiring after all of this, and there you go. And then he closes with, I don't know what I'm going to say when I have the microphone. I have a lot of things to get off my chest. All right, so all right, it's out there, right? The interview is now out there. We're no longer speculating about what Punk has or hasn't done or has or hasn't said. The Hangman comments are in there.
Very much in there.
Yeah, we get why he feels a certain way about Hangman, and the Brawl Out comments are in there. And he said he's reached out, he's tried to make things right, and he's being rejected by the Bucks and Omega. And look, if that's true, I think that's when the Bucks and Omega just got to be like, we need to talk and hear him out. Again, do I think there are some bad feelings on that side? Yes, 100%. How could there not be after everything that was said and done? But that doesn't mean at some point, especially all these months later, you can't meet with the guy in I would assume, a safe-ish environment with like Mega or Tony Khan or whoever. It's not just going to be, hey, meet me in the back alley and let's hash this thing out type of thing. You meet with them in a what's the word I'm looking for here, Joel? With a mediator, whoever, somebody there.
Chris Jericho, that's right.
Yes, Chris Jericho. You meet with them with some third party, basically, a neutral third party, and you see what's up. You air out your grievances in that setting, and maybe you find some common ground. And even if you don't find common ground, you at least get to say all the things you want to say. He gets to say all the things he wants to say, which I assume there's more. Maybe there's not. And you try to move past it. the best you can. I think, honestly, meet him in Temecula. Louis, is that a snotty dripping reference? If so, major pop. But yeah, you meet you settle things, and you go from there. I I don't think he came off bad in this interview at all. He addressed the things that you kind of wanted him to address. He talked about everything. He gave more clarity on certain things. And then, yeah, this is where we're at. What are your thoughts, Joel?
So I'm just rereading it. It looks like the third-party investigation that was brought in, or the investigator, they've completed that investigation. So whatever was no comment is now maybe going to start opening up a little bit, because it's closed. It's completed. I don't know what that's going to mean in the long term, but it seems like Barry Bloom is the one who was declining to comment on the article on behalf of Omega and the Bucks. The Kenta stuff doesn't seem to be in here, or at least not that I'm seeing. If that's the thing that they removed from this whole article,
you know what? And maybe they removed it because they don't have the match. You know, they were interested in the match, but if they can't deliver on that match, there's no reason to try to continue to sell this whole thing. Or maybe Kenta shows up at the end of Collision tonight and we get a second CM Punk article with his thoughts on Kenta on Sunday or Monday.
And I think, okay, I'm seeing the chat react to this whole thing about, you know, this was the quote that was going to kill. Nobody said that this was going to kill AEW. Nobody ever said that this was it, or that these were so highly controversial that it was going to end everything. And nobody said that. People took the one comments that Wade said, that just like, it's going to start a here we go again. And that's what it did. And that's what this is, because you do go read the article, because we always say, don't just read the headline, read the article. We're reading bits and pieces from it and kind of gathering what we get from it. But like, there is a lot of shit in here. There is a lot in here that I think when we read it again and have the silence, we'll realize, like, yeah, he said a lot of interesting and important things. And this isn't, you know, this isn't black and white, even though it's on a black and white screen. This isn't all black and white. This is one man's opinion and one man's experience, is more the comment I'm trying to make. It's one man's experience about what happened in the last 8 months to him, and what the last year, and how it's impacted his life, and how it's impacted AEW, and what he has done in certain ways to rectify his own wrongdoings. Nobody ever said this is it for AEW. The people who did say it are just bad faith actors being dickheads. Instead, focus on like what this really does mean for the perception of the company. It's not going to kill anyone, but it's certainly going to make certain people, not a lot of people, but some people, think twice about whether or not this is something they want to promote, something they want to talk about, something they want to invest in, whatever it is. Like, it does come with this article. So I think a lot of people just want to use like heavy language just for engagement. That's what bothers me more than anything. And that's why I go back to like what Wade said behind his paywall. It wasn't particularly awful. It was just, he was talking like we talk. And people decided to take that and make that like, you know, the sky's falling. Stop doing that. Because even Sean was like, oh shit, now I got to report on what this is about, you know, and not to say that this became Sean's problem, but like it does sometimes force the hand of those who are reporting on it to dig a little deeper, or at least get the story out before people kind of, you know, lose their minds over this whole thing. This article has a lot in it. I do implore you to read the whole thing, because whatever we're saying here is just bits and pieces, and we're just trying to put it together. So again, anyone who's saying AEW is falling because of this is just bullshit. There's some answers, and then there's some questions still. The Colt Cabana thing will forever live as a question in people's minds, and they don't really address it here other than it happened, but maybe it didn't happen, but maybe it did happen, but they just go back and forth on it. So read the article. That's really what it comes down to.
It's, you know, we hyped it up. A lot of people hyped it up. Nobody thought it was going to kill AEW or anything like that. Complete over exaggeration. I give this article, after all the hype and everything. I thought this was a 5-star article. I honestly thought I'm doing sort of a match bit there, but for what I expected, for what I thought, all right, the wife is popping me. For what I expected, for what I thought, he talked about a lot more stuff than I thought he might. Like, especially the way basically everybody else has talked about this situation, right? Tony's no commented on everything. Omega said a little bit. The Bucks haven't said anything. Hangman hasn't said anything. It's been a lot of nothing said. Punk gives his side of the story on this. He gives, I need to, hold on. Yeah, he gives to, he gives his side of like, I apologize to Tony Khan. You know, I regret kind of how I handled the media scrum portion of it. I've tried to reach out to the elite, and he gives his side of things. And I didn't really expect all of that out of this, and he gives his side on the Hangman stuff. And, you know, there's a lot of talk of like, oh, is that going to get cut from this article? Oh, is Punk in the right or wrong when it comes to the Hangman stuff? That's where whoever side you're on, you're probably just going to be on that side, right? I think he's handled some of the stuff not great. I think him explaining his mindset when it came to this, it makes sense. Do I fully agree with like, oh, is Hangman Page going to shoot on him in the middle of this match? And so he's got to have a terrible match because he was worried about that. I think Hangman Page seems professional enough, but in Punk's mind, he doesn't think that after that comment. He doesn't think Hangman Page is professional. So I get why he was feeling the way he was feeling in that match. There's a lot to unpack. We're not going to be able to unpack it in 10 minutes of conversation after just reading it. There's going to be a lot of takes, a lot of differing opinions on it. Like you said, Joel, read the article, make your own conclusions, draw your own conclusions on it. But I do appreciate that Punk answered these questions. I think Mark Raimondi wrote the hell out of this article. He's great. I'm going to message him and try to get him on Monday's show. See what happens.
Good idea. I'm down with that. Let's go.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But like, I think he did a great job with it. And it was a good article. We spent a good portion of this show talking about how Tony Khan gives no answers in all of these interviews he does. We get one CM Punk article, and he gave some really great answers, and he provided some clarity. And yeah, he provided some more questions as well.
And once again, let me restate the fact that you know who's really great at promoting wrestling shows? The talent. So let the talent speak once in a while. You know what's really funny about all this? We were supposed to talk about Forbidden Door, but we're going to, I guess, move a lot of that to next week's show instead because we are well over the start of our overrun. I wanted to bring up the Dominic Mysterio article. If you clap at a movie, you deserve to be put in a Cobra Clutch. That's up there, by the way, with like pineapple on pizza. Okay, that take and clapping as the flight lands. I love this article, and I love that people are biting, and it's my favorite. So good stuff. Sorry, I just wanted to bring it up because I think it's funny. This wasn't a Jeremy article. This was a Dominic tweet.
We did actually write an article. Colin Tessier.
Oh, I see. Colin did. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Colin wrote the article on it. Colin understands the game. I've taught him well. He understands the game, and the more I can teach him these kind of things, the less I got to do of it. So I like that. I did promise a special guest at noon, and I haven't even sent this person the link yet because we had the CM Punk stuff to talk about. You know, what are you gonna do?
You're gonna bury CM Punk. That's what you're gonna do. Yeah. Bury him and talk about the death of AEW. I do love that this was on the ESPN site. This is it's www.espn.com/WWE/story. They just they don't have a wrestling centric URL. It's just WWE.
Yeah. So they do have a wrestling. They do actually. It's espn.com/wrestling. And the first CM Punk article, like when he returned a couple years ago, that was on the wrestling section. And so I was like refreshing the WWE page and the wrestling page this morning to see which one it was going to appear on.
So this is all. So it's all the shoots. They screwed up ESPN. They're gonna have to fix it.
Yeah,
That's how it works.
Joel Pearl, we have a special guest. I promised a special guest today. I promised a surprise. You knew who it was. You didn't know why he was here. Everybody else, you don't know who it is. You don't know why he's here. I don't know if he knows why he's here, honestly.
Yeah, what are we doing?
Well, he's here because since last Wednesday, he's done Wednesday in the Weeds, Thursday Spotlight, Friday in the Weeds, Monday in the Weeds, Wednesday in the Weeds, Thursday Spotlight, 6 shows in my place while I've been out. And if by chance I have more stuff to do next week in the coming weeks, I'm sure he will be filling in on that show as well, because he is one of, if not the most reliable person in wrestling media. He's one of the most hardest working people in wrestling media. He's super entertaining. He's super kind, and I'd put him over all day when it comes to just his work ethic and his interviews, his writing, his personality on the shows. But I largely want to put him over as a good friend, someone who is just, I can chat with, I can banter and nonsense chat with all the time. But yeah, he's a great friend, and I appreciate that he's done all the shows in my place over this past week, and I'm working towards stuff to keep him involved in other areas that I don't want to dive too deep into, because I have no concrete plans on this, and I don't want to sound like a jerk if it falls through. But I'm trying to do what I can for this man, because I love this man. This man is like a brother to me. So the lovely SP3 is here. How you doing, buddy?
That was so lovely. That last part saved me, because I was about to come on here like, all of that work, I still can't get a job at Fightful. I told you, this SRS, Jimmy Van guys, they don't like me. Still won't give me a goddamn job. I'm the Black Rodney Dangerfield of wrestling media. I guess no respect. Nah, but you ruined it with that nice little bit. That was very nice. Thank you, Jerry.
Look, I don't want to say too much, because some stuff is over my head. I've got ideas, and I'm trying to flesh them all out. I can't promise anything next week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months. I truthfully can't. Please do not put that expectation out there. But I promise you, SP3, you know how much I love you, and you know I'll go to bat for you on anything. No. So I'm trying on certain things. So
hey, if we get him, can we bring Jimmy Macro over?
Oh, look, that would be fantastic.
Yo, he was when I told him that you put him over so much, he was like, oh. he was like, oh. he was upset though that he wasn't. I told him all the guests that we had on Wednesday, and he literally said what Joel said on the show. And before we went live, he was like, that sounded like the blackest episode of In the Weeds.
That was legit. That was such a great episode. That was tons of fun on Wednesday too. All week, having you with us, SP3 was just fantastic. I know I put you over on socials. I'll say it again here. Like, y'all sleeping on SP3, because everything Jeremy said, I echo 100%. I think I said to Jeremy, I can't remember if this was before the show or during the show. I was like, first episode, I was like, I know we've done stuff before, SP3 and I, but like we've never done a format like this. So I was like, I don't know how it's gonna work out. I know the chemistry's there, but I don't know how it's gonna work. And it worked great. And then we did it more and more, and our chemistry is still there. I was like, again, I appreciate the hell out of having someone that I can so easily call on when Jeremy is unavailable. So thank you.
That was so much fun.
Yes.
Just 5 Jews, Bang Bang Bill. We got bits in a week.
I watched. So we were driving back to Ohio on Monday, and the anonymous GM bit. We had it on in the car, and I was telling the wife, I was like, just message Joel everything that I want to get through. And Joel, you did a great job turning it into the anonymous GM bit on there. But I was like, just imagine. So I did listen to the show on Monday when we were driving. I of course listened to the Darius Carter interview. And I appeared on, I popped on the show last Friday and then popped on Spotlight on Thursday. So I caught bits and pieces of certain shows, did watch the entire show on Monday. And look, I know how good SP3 is. There is a reason. There is a reason why when things changed with this channel and it became overbooked, the first message, this is no joke, by the way. I talked to Joel a little bit and we tried to figure things out and figured out what we were going to do as far as coming on and rebranding and everything. But as far as like for me, my content portion of this, no lie, the first message I sent was to SP3. And I didn't want to do wrestling though. I was like, hey, do you want to do a basketball podcast?
You legit say you do enough wrestling. Let's do a basketball.
Yeah, we both do so much wrestling. Like we both do so much wrestling. And I was like, I want to do basketball. I got to message SP3. Like this is who I know I can just banter about basketball for however long we're going to banter about basketball. And that SP3, look at this transition, is actually why you're here today. Because we've not done FMC over the past couple of weeks as I've been out.
I've been happy about that because of the results. I've been happy about that because of the results. Because I will say it here, Jeremy was right. Jeremy was correct.
Wait, no. I don't want it. No, wait. We've not talked about a very important happening in the world of basketball. And I apologize for the length of this video. The first time I'll ever apologize for length. But this must be played. This must be on record for everybody to see, honestly, why I'm the greatest. I'll bring him back because he'll want to ridicule my pick when I pick the Denver Nuggets to win the NBA championship. The Denver Nuggets, Jokic. I'm going, see, everyone wants to go with the safe picks like the Bucks and the Warriors because they've been here and everything. At some point, we get a new team in this mix. The Nuggets, they got cohesion. They got the chemistry. They got Jokic. They got a core that's been there, that's been through the trials and tribulations together. They get over the hump. Denver Nuggets, 2023 NBA champions, just like the Stanley Cup 2022 Stanley Cup champion, Colorado Avalanche, Denver, baby.
Oh, here we go.
Let's ride. Let's ride, Denver.
This is
I'm not
like
trolling. That's my
yeah,
pick.
he's trolling. He's trolling
a little bit. A little bit of
because this is on record. I'm not going to troll. Like if I troll on Twitter, I'll troll on Twitter, but I'm not going to troll on this show. I truly believe in the Nuggets. I truly believe what I'm saying because you can go with chalk stuff, Warriors, Bucks, sure, but like it happens every year. So there's some crazy thing that happens, and a surprise team comes up.
We're absolutely going to see. Jokic is a great player, top 8 in the league. But I don't see the Nuggets even making it past the second round. I don't see in the playoffs that didn't count to you was the only time they made it far into the playoffs. So I have no other history that can tell me otherwise that I should be confident that they're going to make it to the NBA, to the Western Conference Finals, let alone the NBA Finals. Like, I don't know what you're smoking this morning. Smoking on that Jokic pack. That's what I'm going to be smoking on at the end of the year. I'm going to be smoking on that Jokic pack when he's eliminated from the playoffs. You're going off all
history. Let me say what I've seen in the past. No, you got to be forward thinking. You got to be light years, SP3, and you're not light years. That's the difference between us. You're just looking at the history of things. You got to be one step ahead. What pack are you smoking on? Now, June 16th, 2023, SP3. What happened when Nikola Jokic got out of the second round? Top 8 player, Nikola Jokic. What happened when he got out of the second round? SP3? Huh? What happened?
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening, my headline below my name says that wasn't me and/or under the influence I was. Jeremy was right. Jeremy was correct. I am smoking on the playoff Jimmy buckets pack right now because Jeremy was right. I'm giving you all these praise. Yes, he's smoking on the SP3 pack right now. That's what he is. He unearthed. He unearthed our season preview footage just to play on here. After numerous requests by me when I was right to play back the footage. He never did it, but when he's right, he can do it. He don't want to play back. He don't want to play back our 2022 preview when I called the Warriors gonna win that championship.
You go cut that podcast up.
No.
You go cut that up. I put in work to cut this up.
I don't have access. I don't have access to this Fightful.
You don't have access to YouTube?
Yeah, you gotta go on
YouTube.
Download the video, damn it.
Yeah, just download.
I don't have access to upload it and play it here. This man, he's using.
You send it to me, I'll do it.
Oh no, you won't. Oh no, you won't. All you will do is retweet. All you will do is retweet when I post it up. But yes, Jeremy was right. You got it correct. You were spot on. You were laughed at. You were ridiculed, and you overcame. You overcame. And like Nikola Jokic, you deserve the day off. You deserve the day off after the parade. Even though all of this, see, he's just like the Denver Nuggets. He can't just be right. He just can't be right and take his W and go home. I'm living rent free in his head, like the Los Angeles Lakers is living rent free in the Denver Nuggets' head at the parade. Oh, he came in the son of a coach, and now he's the Lakers' daddy. It's your parade. Be happy. Y'all still mad? We still talk about the Los Angeles Lakers. On the week that the Denver Nuggets won a damn championship, they still talking about the Los Angeles Lakers. And y'all still mad? We living rent free in those Denver Nuggets' head. Just like my laughing and ridicule of Jeremy's prediction is living rent free in his head.
You hold on to that. Yeah. A fellow Jeremy, get the brooms out for the Los Angeles Lakers. Because that's what happened. That's what happened when Jokic got out of the second round. He faced the Lakers in the conference finals and didn't lose a single game. To Peel, I was so excited to clip that, by the way. When I went back and watched it, I didn't realize your top 8 Jokic pack second round. I forgot you had said all of that. I was so excited to include that portion. I was just going to make it about like my victory lap of like, I'm picking the Nuggets. Here's what's happening. I remember Nick accusing me of trolling like I've ever trolled in my life on any show ever. Never. Not me. I remember that. I completely forgot your Jokic pack thing. I was like, oh, this is going to hit so much better with these comments. That's why you're here, SP3. Joel thought SP3 might just be on, let's talk more wrestling with SP3 to wrap. No, this is an FMC crossover week.
I knew exactly what I was walking into, okay? I ain't born yesterday, buddy. I knew this one.
See, what we really need to do now, Jeremy, is on FMC. We need to have the 7-Up bets. Since another show that had a famously over the top Laker LeBron fan, black guy, and with a white man who's a lot nicer than that other white guy. They don't do 7-Up bets anymore because they're no longer a team. We need to have 7-Up bets. We need to have. I'll deliver it from the local. I'll order it from the local Ohio 7-Up place or whatever drink you drink. We need to have those type of bets where I get you to pack
pepper. All right, we'll do.
Yeah,
like this.
I'll get you a Dr. Pepper pack.
I
owe you a Dr. Pepper pack for your Denver Nuggets. For your Denver Nuggets winning. See, I'm calling them your Denver Nuggets. It's ridiculous.
We've already got our penis trophy. We've got our penis trophy bets with the great Cher Delaware, where she has a penis trophy on her desk.
Hasn't been a good year for me. Hasn't been a good year. I lost the Challenge World Championship. My Lakers lost in the playoffs. The Denver Nuggets of all teams.
Like I didn't tell you it was going to happen. Like I didn't tell you it was gonna happen. SB3. Listen to me.
At least it's not the Suns. At least it's not
Fair.
the Suns.
Now we're just trolling Ace Shock. All right, Joel. Thanks for being a good sport. And as we talk basketball, if anybody wants more basketball talk from SB3 and I, we do FMC every Tuesday. We should be back this Tuesday, assuming my travel works out how it needs to work out. We'll be back talking. Louis, this is an announcement, by the way. Louis is going to join us on Tuesday to talk draft stuff. He sent me some really good draft profiles, so he's going to join us to talk some NBA draft because that's next Thursday. So that's FMC. All the other shows, Joel, I'll let you plug, but SB3 you can also plug stuff. Do we need to talk about anything else?
No.
John Morant got suspended 25 games while the show was going.
Oh, did he?
Yeah,
yes, he
came in and everything.
Yeah. Yes,
all right
he,
then.
yes. He got suspended in 25 games, which I just put out a tweet of Nick Diaz saying, I'm not surprised, because you're either going to fall on one side of the spectrum of you think it's too light, you think it's correct. I am rooting for John Morant. I am rooting for somebody to be the Vin Rames in Baby Boy and take the gun away from Tyrese. Take the gun away from Tyrese. One of his friends need to do that to him. Take that gun away. You don't need to have the Glock shooting up the block. You don't have to come with the crew. None of that. I hope that this is the path to a great comeback next season. But yes, he got suspended 25 games. That's the only other NBA thing going on right now.
That's the only other important news that came out on ESPN over the last hour.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, no one
yes.
else.
Nothing about that other guy. That was the anti-comeback thing. You gave it 5 stars. It must have been in the Tokyo Dome. If it was in if it was at the world's famous arena, Madison Square Garden, would have gave it 3.5. 3.5. It was well done by Mark. Mark did an excellent job with the interview, with the article, 5-star writing, but the interview itself and what Punk gave us, 3.5. It wasn't the hype that it was worth. I don't think it was worth all that.
When you release your star ratings for Collision at the end, whenever you do that, can you please just include that?
Oh, that was great.
I'm putting that. CM Punk versus ESPN, 3.5 stars. I'm literally gonna write it in my notes. I'm gonna put it in my star rating notes right now.
I am all
doing that.
Oh, okay. SB3, plug your stuff and we're gonna get out of here.
Thanks for having me back on. I made a whole week of 5 shows with In the Weeds. Thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate all the love, all the support, all the kind words from both of you gentlemen, everyone in the chat. Appreciate y'all as well. And you can follow me on the Twitter machine at TrueHillSP3. I'll be going live in about 30 minutes with Miss Chrissy Love reviewing Dark Side of the Ring, the Graham Dynasty episode. Probably the saddest episode of Dark Side of the Ring since the last of the Von Erichs. I did not know as much as I know now about the Graham family, so we'll be talking about it. Bring your tissue. We'll have a good time talking about it as well. So join us at 1:05 p.m. Eastern Time over there, and the True Hill Heat flagship podcast. I'll be back with another Fightful brother, my spinner Mason to my Jimmy Brooks. Steven Jensen is going to be on True Hill Heat at 11:05 a.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. So check us out for that.
Love it. Fightful Overbooked. We drop content every single day. Later on, if you're watching live right now at 3 p.m. Eastern, you're going to have Coexisting with Rob and Maggie. I had a brain fart. Blue screen, as Crest of the Star would say. And of course, our interviews always come around and drop with our content every single day. We're dropping stuff. Just follow the channel. If you haven't left a thumbs up yet, go ahead, leave a thumbs up, subscribe, tap the bell, get your notifications. I'm at Joel Pearl, JoelPearl. Everyone on the screen right now is a daddy. Happy Father's Day to all of those out there who are fathers, who are father figures, who are in our lives as those people that we love and look up to. I hope that it is a wonderful weekend for everyone. Jeremy and I are back on Monday, and we're looking forward to seeing you and getting in the weeds after a very busy weekend. Looking forward to it. Ladies and gentlemen, friends beyond the binary, we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.